we're going to start off with a little bit of antiquing wax, of course. Got some water wipes. Any type of baby wipe would work as well. I have a variety of ribbons that we might look at using. Cute. And then these little frames that I got from Dollar Tree. So I have 3 different sets, 2 different types of round ones. So the tops and bottoms need to match for these projects that we're doing today. You can use fabric pieces. This one is from Dollar Tree from year before last, I think. This is a decal with the bee on it. I have some yellow cellophane paper. We're just going to start off by treating all of these frame pieces. So I'm going to use one of these water wipes. I just got mine in a case from Amazon. It's really not that important what kind you get. Well, I wouldn't think it makes a difference. Just a water wipe. No additional fancy schmancy aloe or anything in it. And then I'm going to rub it into the wipe a little bit. This is going to make the coverage a little more sheer instead of solid. If you like a solid coverage, then you can go ahead and use the sponge, like a dry sponge brush or regular paintbrush. It's going to take longer to dry if you do it that way, but it's totally up to you what you like. All right, so I'm going to go all the way around. Not important to do the back, but we are going to do the same treatment to the other one. Look at the 2 of them and compare and kind of make sure that you get the same coverage on both of them. Well, these are just laser cut, so, you know, they're not even really exact. So now I'm going to use some of this black chalk paint. All right, this is a little sponge pouncer, and you normally would use this for something like a stencil. But I thought, let's try it because it should give less coverage. It's sort of like the sponges that you would put makeup on with. So I thought, you know, a little bit less heavy of a coverage should make this dry quicker. And it actually did work that way. So, you know, a lot of crafting is experimenting and getting the right kind of tools to get the job done. So I like to play around and, you know, use different things to make different crafts. It gives a different look, a different appearance. And with this, you don't have to worry about the paint pooling up in each of those little cutout areas, which is what I really liked about doing this way. Along with the fact that it dried fairly quickly. So I've got a full coverage on the front of this. If you wanted to pretend like this was a face of makeup. Full coverage all around. And because it's a laser cut, it actually has dark brown around the edges and on the insides too. So you don't have to worry about getting on the insides necessarily. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to take the time to do it. So same treatment on the other one, all the way around until we have 2 black frame pieces. So here are those black frames. Here's our little bee decal. I did get this from Temu. If you're interested, I'm an affiliate, but I'd be more than glad to grab that link for you so you can get one of these of your own. I thought, okay, it's got a clear backing, so that's perfect, but we need to take off the sticker that's on it because I don't want to see that through, right? When the light shines through it, you can see it. If you're going to be peeling off one of these stickers, use whatever method you like. I wouldn't recommend heat at this point because it might cause an issue because it's a sticker, you know, it's a decal. It might melt. But a little bit of plain water on the back, and I'm just gently scraping my, yes, that's a cheese knife. It absolutely is, but I like to use it for this type of tool, and it is perfect. I'm telling you now, it's perfect. No more problems. We're going to leave it right on its backing. We don't even have to take it off. It's going to be like a stained glass insert for this frame. So now I want to trim it up a little bit because I don't want to see the edges underneath that. So I'm just going to flip it over and use a pen. You see I switched pens there. And of course I was talking on the phone while I was doing this, so I was second guessing everything I was doing while I was chatting it up with my friend. Go around that circle. Go all the way around that circle on the outside because you want to cut out enough that you have a surface that you can apply the glue to, right? So you want to be sure you have plenty of room left there that you can glue those pieces together. Otherwise, if you flipped it the other way and traced it, it would just fall right through there. So now we're going to flip it over. Now we have the perfect amount to go around the inside and to glue this in place easily. We'll go around here, trying not to let anything squish out, but you know sometimes it's going to. Just be prepared. It takes a little while for this to dry. So if you get a little tool that you can scrape with, you can just clean it up. It's not hard. I'll even show you how I do mine. So we're on the inside of this frame and we're going to face that downward. Press those edges into that glue. Just going to tap it down. And then I'll add more glue so that I can put the other frame on. like I said before, you can definitely use hot glue on this if you want to. After you get your decal in there, you can just put the frames together with hot glue. It was making little strings everywhere. All right, now I'm going to sandwich this right in between. Now, as close as these two pieces look like they were identical, they were not identical. They were definitely not exactly the same. And you can tell it with the wood color underneath the black. So we're going to address this first. We're going to get the spillage off. We're going to get that excess off of there. But you can see the wood underneath. So I'm going to grab that brush, go back into the black. You need to be sure that you give it time to dry, or you use some clamps to hold it in place so it's not sliding around. I'm just going to give you an example. Here's a little clamp. And then I'm going to go on the inside and not get it on my decal, but just on the inside of the openings and getting those covered in black so you don't see the difference between the top and the bottom. Totally up to you how you want to do it. And so this is what that is going to look like so far. I love that we can see through it. Very cute. These little sun catcher charms that you can put in your windows. I just love it. Now my sink at my house is on an island, so it doesn't look out a window, but there's a big window by the table where I do my work. So I can hang this right in the center and look at the sunshine through it. I'm just taking some thin ribbon, but you can use jute, you can use whatever you would like, and just go through the holes that are already there on that frame. And then pull up a knot in the end, trim it off just a little bit, and I have a little hanger now. Be sure you're leaving yourself enough room in your hanger that you can get it around the lock mechanism or whatever you want to hang it off of. Just be sure you have enough and you check that out first. And if you wanted to use these on a lamp or something, you wouldn't want to tie your knot. You would leave your ribbon ends free and then just tie it around and then take it off by untying it when you want to remove it. I'm taking some scrap fabric. You can use ribbon to do this too, but I thought let's just go ahead because they're frayed a little bit and it gives it that little country look. And I'll just cut these pieces. And I think they ended up being like 4.5. I think the ruler said 4.5 inches for these pieces to give you an idea. And I'm just going to kind of fray a little bit, tear them, cut them until I make me some X's. Then I have a little ribbon over here that's we're going to use on the bottom because they were scraps, they were leftover pieces, they match what's going on, and I like that sort of a bolder print on that ribbon. I'll use a piece of ribbon in the middle. Again, use jute if you would like. And I'm just going to tie this right in the middle of that squished X that we made. And this is going to make a little messy looking scrappy bow. And then you can adjust it. So I can pull it a little bit. I can make sure that my ends are about even. And then I can trim off any parts that I would like to trim off. You can leave some long. You know, you can make your bow thicker. You can use more pieces. Make sure that your printed side are, you know, that they're upward, of course. And the ribbon that I had on the back, we're just going to use to attach it. Rather than using glue, I'm just going to go ahead and use this and tie it right around the base of where we have our hanger. You can do a double knot and then trim it off. Make it nice and neat. We're going to have another option here in a minute for you. And at this point, I remembered, oh, wait, you've got some bee charms somewhere. Where are the bee charms? You can also use something like buttons or little wood beads for decoration if you want a little extra. But these are a bunch of different ones that you would use for making jewelry. And I chose this one. And I'll just add some glue on the back and put it on the frame. You know, maybe that's a little drone bee, a little worker bee, and she's out there protecting the queen bee. Look at that. Who's on the hive? She's on the comb. This is cute. Oh, y'all, I like that. So here it is outside. You can see that you can see through it. It's a little bit opaque. It's not completely clear. But if you can get it where the light is shining through a window, it's going to be spectacular. I hope you like this one. So here's the other round one that we just stained or used our wax on. And then we have cellophane. If you want to make it plain with just this in the middle for a sun catcher, you can do it like this. Very easy. But I thought, hey, let's make it double-sided. So I'm going to use a piece of the fabric. Do yourself a favor and iron your fabric first. I don't have any idea where my iron is. maybe in the garage, not entirely sure. But yeah, it was not a search I wanted to go on this particular day. So I just decided to leave it as is and teach you how to do it the right way. Yeah, I'll tell you how to do it the right way. How about that? So I'm going to go around this circle. I'm going on the outside of where I drew the line because, again, you need extra on there because you have to have something that's going to reach the edges of that frame on the inside. So we're on the back side of one of the frames, so the side that is not stained. Adding some of that glue. But when I am doing projects like this, I like to use smaller tubes because if it dries out, you're not wasting a huge tube, right? You use a little tube. If it dries out, you pitch it and you go get another one. All right, then I'm going to sandwich it in and I'm going to glue it down too. That little part is, you didn't get to see that part, but yeah. We're going to sandwich that in there. Same process. I'm going to put some weights on it and let it dry. I'll take a craft knife and we're going to start by taking off some of the cellophane around the edges. Get your spectacles, ladies and gents. Then I'm going to take my scissors and, like I said, just kind of get the excess off. You can cut it into whatever angles you want to, but you want to be sure that you kind of get into those dips. And you can use the utility knife as well to go down into those curves. I don't want to go inside the intricate pieces because I love the idea of that looking like a honeycomb. Now that I've cut it down, I thought, let me use my heat tool because I know that it'll melt plastic. I put it on low and then ran it along the edge. I just kind of kept moving it and it just shrunk it right down to the frame. Absolutely, look at that, look at it. Oh my gosh, obsessed. Right down to the frame, perfect. It looks like it was manufactured that way. Does that not look like stained glass? Ah! I love it when something goes right in crafting. And then you can see when I tilt it that you can see the yellow. It looks white. And then when you tilt it, you can see the yellow behind it. So you get two different looks, right? At nighttime, you see the white. And in the daytime, when the light's shining through, you got that yellow. So if you want to use a ribbon to hang it, you can do that. If you want to make a hanger for it different than what we did before, here's another option for you. I'm using just a little piece, it's like a scrap piece of pipe cleaner, which I have twisted on one end, leaving an opening or a loop at the top, and then I'm going to glue it right down in the back. This is sufficient. It is sufficient because it's not a heavy piece. It's going to hang there all day long off that little hanger. No problem. So that's how this one looks. Looks like the bees are on a flower or on a hive, doesn't it? And here she is outside. And it's just on a wreath hanger. Just got it stretched on a wreath hanger there. So this is a calendar page. It says honey for sale. This is the 2023 calendar. I'm going to use some dark gray or wrought iron paint and a brush, Mod Podge and a brush, and this thrifted sign that I got from Goodwill. I'm going to start off by taking my sanding block and just going over this. The paint on the top of it was raised, so I wanted to make it nice and smooth, so I just went ahead and sanded that down and then wiped it and dried it. I'm going to add some of this paint with my sponge brush. Use whatever brush you would like, and I will say I had to cover this 3 times. Here is that calendar. So we're going to use this honey page because we're going to do bees in this video, and I want to make this fit. So you just simply put it on there and trim it down. If you feel better using like a pen or a pencil and a ruler, you can go ahead and do that. The reason we paint it dark is because we do not want those dark lines of the calendar to show through. And when you paint it dark, it will not show up at all. Seeing is believing, so you better stay tuned. All right, so we're going to add a good layer of Mod Podge, nice and even on there, and lay that calendar page right on top. You can easily just gently lift it if you get any bubbles or lines trapped in there. I'm going to press it with my hands, and then I'll take my little Mod Podge squeegee and go over the top. I like to go from the middle outward and hold on to the other side so it doesn't slip, because sometimes it will slide, and that depends largely on the amount of glue that you use underneath. Okay, so this looks pretty good. We can let it dry. Do you see that little calendar hole up there? This pen, furniture repair marker in oak, is the perfect color for that lining. So if you've got some of these, you can fill that hole in so you don't notice that it's a calendar page. Just looks like a beautiful print. This came from the fall decor at Dollar Tree. And then this ribbon is also from the Dollar Tree. It is wired. It looks like honeycomb. Very pretty ribbon. In person, it looks even better. I'm going to cut 4 pieces of a few of them, 2 pieces of a few of them, however you want to do it. It's just going to be a little stacked bow. I'm going to dovetail the ends on all of them. I'm going to just start layering these on here. You can do it in any order, or you don't have to do it in order. You can just stack them in X's just all willy-nilly if that's what you want to do. That's totally fine. I just like to do it this way. Just my preference. So I've tried to sort of divide them up so that I have some difference in texture and colors. I'm going to take that X of ribbons, that bunch, flip it over, and then just using a little bit of this jute twine, I'm going to cinch it and tie it in a few knots in the back. Then you can take your little ribbon edges and turn it over and just flip it out. The ones who have wire, or the ones that have wire in them, you can just sort of bend those or curl them or have them standing out, whatever you like. I just find that a flat bow doesn't give it very much dimension and it doesn't look very cute. So I like to give mine a good fluff. If you like the center, you can do the center. If you like the outside, you can do the outside. Now keep in mind that the square signs at Dollar Tree are the same size as the calendar pages. So if you would like to just grab a square Dollar Tree sign, if you don't have a 10 sign like this, you can do it and then you'll still have a really nice look. I just tied it onto that hanger and added a little glue so it won't slide up and down. And that'll keep it a little more secure than I think just the glue. So I'm going to pull off little ferny pieces here because they match the greenery that's in the picture, and just add those here and there in that bow to give it a little something extra. I love bees. I've done lots of bee projects. And I'm just putting these here and there. If you prefer to use flowers, go ahead and do that. If you don't have a honeybee calendar page and you want to do lemons or you want to do whatever, you can use any print. Just kind of, coordinate your ribbons and your greenery to whatever page you're doing. And here's the finished bow. Well, pretty much finished, right? You can always add more, and I always do. So I had some of these little leftover bits and bobs of flowers. I'm just going to add a couple of those in there because the bees like the flowers, right? If you don't want to put these on, you can leave it off. You don't even have to put any greenery. You can just use your ribbons if that's what you want to do. If you want to put it outside, you can get Mod Podge in an outdoor formula. You can put that all over the top to seal it off. Then it'll last a long time. This is so easy. I've got some paint star sticks, some antique wax from Waverly, some wet wipes, and a canvas from Dollar Tree. This one says, "Let it be." Love it. I'm going to take my paint sticks and we're going to turn those into a frame. So you know how to do this. I'm sure everybody's kind of experimented with this. I want to make a little box frame, so I'm measuring off my little pieces, and then I'm going to cut this down. And I realize that's not the right saw for this project, but my other saw was MIA. So I'm going to use this wet wipe, and the reason I'm using a wet wipe is because I want it to be sheer enough that I can still see the wood grain underneath it. Again, that's a preference. If you want to use a paintbrush and put it on there, you certainly can, but this way you can kind of still see the texture. I'm going to take my sanding block and round off the edges where I cut so there's no splinters and it looks like one piece, like it was made that way. And then I'm going to go over it with my wax. Alright, I'm going to add some hot glue here. Hot glue is going to be fine because it's going to be indoors. Burnt my finger. Protect your fingers, please. It's going to be inside, so we don't have to worry about the glue letting go or anything like that. And giving it this little shadow box look, you can sit it on a shelf or you can hang it up, whichever way you want to do it. This gives it a broader base and it will sit fine by itself. It didn't even fall when I raised and lowered my table. How about that? If you'd rather use super glue or some other type of glue, you can do that. Hot glue just works best for time, in the videos. Now that's just easy, right? But let's fix it a little more. we're going to cut out the tiny little bee picture that's on the back of the calendar. So this is on kind of a thicker paper. I'm going to slightly fussy cut, not completely, but slightly, and add some school glue to the back. And then we're going to add it down on this canvas to make it look like it's supposed to be there. You could even put it up there on the honeycomb if you wanted to, but I thought this little negative space here was just crying out for something extra. Pat it down, and I'll take my Mod Podge, and this is just some matte Mod Podge. I'll go over that bee, give it just a minute to sort of be happy there before I go back over it, and I'll cover the whole canvas and dry it. Alright, so we're going to use some of this beautiful black and white farmhouse looking bee fabric, a scatter kindness sign, both of those came from Dollar Tree, some matte Mod Podge, and I thrifted this, but I believe that's a Dollar General sticker on the back. I got 2 of these and was so excited when I found them because they are very heavy duty and very substantial looking. I'm just going to lay it on top of the fabric to roughly cut out how much I'm going to need. I am using the back side after the sticker is removed, and I'm just going to go over this with a good thick layer of Mod Podge. We're going to use a thick layer because you don't have the issues with fabric that you have with paper as far as bubbling and such. I'm going to lay it down here, space it out, make sure I got room on both edges, press it out with my hands, and then I'll use the squeegee to completely flatten it out. Then I'm going to immediately go back over it with another thick coat of the Mod Podge. I try to make it kind of even and keep my brush strokes going the same way. Okay, so once it is dried, I'm going to cut off more of that excess. But then I'll take the sanding block and really get that kind of pressed down and clean against that edge. It will look like it was painted on and made this way. So just doing this shears the fabric off. That's why you need to make sure you put a lot of glue on there, because it is going to dry very hard, and that's what you want. Also, when you sand it like this, that kind of gives it that little rough edge, and I love that. So I've got some black beads and some yellow beads. You can get beads at Dollar Tree, any type that you like. I've got some cotton cord. Do this however you like though. This is a preference thing. You could also use baker's twine if you prefer that. I do have some yellow and white baker's twine, but I was afraid it would be just a little bit too much, a little too busy, so we left that one out. I'm gonna go through the middle here and just make a little loop, pull that string through there, and that's how we're gonna hang it. Then I will take both of the strings and put it through the black bead, and then I'll pull those apart, and I do have like a little hot glue. See there how we do that? A little cool temp hot glue. Twist that tip so you get a nice strong tip like on a shoelace. Probably more appropriate for maybe lemon decor, but it's the same color that's on the little hanger there, so I wanted to keep that kind of consistent. Now I'll put them back together. So see, the little yellow ones are on separate, and then we'll put them back together with the black bead, just like that. And now I'm going to make a loop and then tie a couple of knots in there so that nothing slips through the beads. I don't want my beads coming off. And once that's done, I'm going to put it down and wrap it around just where the end of the roof would be, and add a little glue on the front side to hold it in place so I can get it wrapped around. I'm going to kind of wrap this a few times. And you don't have to do it this way, of course. If you don't want to do it like this, you don't have to. Just kind of tie it and then wrap it around again. You can make a bow here. You can hot glue it. You could just, if you wanted to skip the beads altogether, you could just hot glue that little sign that says scatter kindness. You could just glue that right to the front. You can finish off your back. This is actually the original front, but you could paint that if you wanted to. No one will see it at my house. Then, just to make extra sure it doesn't go anywhere, I'm going to add a little hot glue and pull it down and press it down. And this is how it looks. Love that black and white with it. It looks really cute. So I have got my wood blocks here, or dice. This is some Dollar Tree ribbon. I have I think it's a sunflower yellow and a jet black paint, some sponge brushes, and some letter stickers. I'm going to start off with our little dice. We're going to call them dice. How about that? And I'm going to color this black. I'm just going to color like the circle part on one of the facings. And then 2 of them will be this beautiful golden yellow color. One will be black and the other 2 will be yellow. Once they're dry, we're going to take these stickers. Use whatever alphabet stickers you have. And if you have, you know, a cricket and you want to do that, you can certainly do that. So I'm just going to put B on this one. The black one will get an E, and then the other yellow one will get an E. Really press that down so that I don't have to worry about any bleeding underneath. I know you can't see it on the black one yet. Once you get those secured down, we're going to start painting the other colors. So the ones with the yellow face are going to get a coat of black. I'm stippling it on the top to try to reduce the chances of it bleeding. Go all over the block now and just make that entire block black. And then you can just use your little tool from your Cricut or peel it up with your fingernails if you got good nails. And I did scratch a little too hard there into the wood. The wood's a little soft, and I scratched my E, but I can fix it with a little paint. So I'm just going to use a really fine tip brush. So I'm just going back over to kind of neaten it up. And then we're going to connect them together with some hot glue. Feel free to use wood glue or whatever type of adhesive that you have. This will be inside, so the hot glue should work fine. Plus, we're going to do something else to secure them. They're not going to go anywhere. I'm going to flip it over to the bottom and grab some of this really cute bee ribbon. I got my bee ribbon last year, but I am pretty sure they have it again this year, or what I'm seeing is what they had left from last year. So hopefully you can find this if you like to do bee decor for spring and summer. Press it down, go all the way back around to the original spot, and then glue it down neatly. I don't want to put too much because I don't want to see a track of glue underneath that beautiful ribbon. It'll really cheapen the look, and I want this to look high-end, right? I'm going to slip another piece of ribbon through there, right over the bee, and I'm going to tie a little bow here. You know how to do this. Make the little loops, and then wrap them around each other and poke one of them through the middle. And then just pull them. And then fix the tails, you know. Flip the bow which way you want it, and then fix your tails. And I'm going to trim my tails down some, so it looks like the bee's just sitting on the top. And I think that is cute as it is. But I'm going to take a little bit of this. It almost reminds me of ragweed. It grows wild in the fields out here where I live. It will make you sneeze and your eyes water. Oh, it's terrible for hay fever, but it sure looks cute in these projects. So I'm going to use the fake form of them and add a couple of little green leaves that I had left over as well, because bees really like the pollen off of these plants. And they make a lot, trust me. I inhale enough to make a whole beehive probably in a season. So that's how this is going to look. And you could add flowers if you prefer that, or you don't have to put anything. Just use the bow, or you could just... This one was so fun. I love making little habitats and terrariums. So we're going to take this bee box from Dollar Tree. I'm going to take some Gerber daisies. I'm going to take some of these little bees from Dollar Tree, little wooden bees, and some greenery, a little piece of foam, and then a moss mat. And then I have some wildflowers to use. So I want to get this where it will fit in the bottom of this box so that we have a nice base. I've cut it at a slant on both sides so that it will lay nice and flat in the bottom. I put a good deal of hot glue on here and press it down. Hold it down for just a minute. Let it cool off. You can kind of feel it in the box. Then I'll be trimming down a piece of this moss mat to go over that piece of styrofoam. And we'll glue that down. So I'm not mad about that warm weather, the warmer weather. I really am not. I love to go outside. But you see what I'm doing here to get this moss stuck down? Now that looks like, it looks good, right? It's kind of seamless. Looks pretty good. Then I'm going to cut these all down. It's important that these are smaller than the height of the box, because if you get them too tall, they'll just kind of bend in there. You don't want that to happen, right? I'll start laying down sort of a background greenery. I'm just going to put those in the back, and then I will push those wires from the flowers right down into the styrofoam. And if something doesn't fit, just take it out, clip it, and then put it back in, because you're just pushing it into there. We haven't glued anything except this flower. I could not get it to set right except for gluing it flat. So I added some little white flowers beside it. You can see what I did there. We're going to use this from Dollar Tree, it's a little candle stand. And we're going to use the bottom as the top. So I'm going to add some glue to it and then set the box down on top of it. If I did it the other way, it was too wide and you could see it poking out both sides. It didn't quite look right. So this way it looks like a pedestal and it fits on there nicely. This is a little bead. I always pick these up, even if I find only one of them in the style. If I see them at Goodwill in the bins, I just grab it. Nobody else is looking for this stuff, so they don't care anything about it. And we'll put a little topper on it, and we'll add this little bee right on top. He's up there with the best view of all the bees. They're little stickers, so they have a little foam under there, and you just peel the white off so you can stick them down. But you can use hot glue in areas that you think, you might really need that extra stick-to-itiveness. Let's call it that. Yeah, stick-to-itiveness. We just made up a new crafting word. And then I'm just going to add these around on the inside too. And I didn't put a lot of glue on them, so if you get ready to kind of reposition, you can kind of reposition, which I did because I didn't want both my bees in the same direction. So I put one on the little flower and I put one in the middle of this flower. And I'm just going to pull it off and turn it in a different direction. These bees are working hard. I want to give it the impression that they are all over the place trying to get their work done. They are busy bees, right? Busy bees. Yeah, I like the look of that better. Now to add a little something to that pedestal bottom, I'm going to take some of my Gorilla Glue and my glue gun and go around the base. We're going to make a little bit of greenery on here. I'm going to kind of wind this little flower around too. I'm going to glue it to the bottom on top of that greenery and then twist it up. You probably want to use some hot glue and some Gorilla Glue, or use some E6000, something like that, to hold these on, because it can be very difficult to get things to stick onto a shiny, like ceramic type surface. I mean, after the fact, mine did pop off and I had to re-glue it. So just little information there, just so you don't get frustrated. If you're going to give this as a gift or sell it, you definitely need to use some super glue. And this is how this one looks. This was easy, right? This was so easy, but look at the impact it makes. That's super cute. You could even use this at Easter if you wanted to. I mean, I think summer, spring, Easter, very cute. Got the little bee blocks and the little bee habitat here. And I love that the box is almost like a honeycomb shape. It's almost like that. You know that I know you can do these projects, right? I know you can do it. You got to have faith in yourself. I have people saying that they haven't crafted in so long and they haven't found inspiration. I'm giving you loads of inspiration, and if you need more, subscribe, because I am always doing my best to bring you budget-friendly DIYs that look different than the standard crafts. We want to make it look high-end and beautiful. Why don't you scatter some kindness today down in the comment section? Say something nice to somebody else who's commenting. Get to know each other. We're a big family here at Making It My Own DIYs. We're going to start off with a napkin with bees on it. Very pretty. A little wood round, and it's an oval shape. This is a stand that I already had and used in other projects. We're going to use it again. Antiquing wax, of course. Mod Podge. Some white chalk paint. This is Adirondack. And then, of course, a variety of paint brushes. So I'm going to start off by taking that antiquing wax and going around the bottom part of this frame. The flat top is going to be painted differently, but I want to stain all of this. You're going to see me apply it, and I'm going to put it on there pretty thick. And then as soon as I get it completely applied, I'll go back over it with a dry cloth and wipe back quite a bit of that wax. I want to be sure that I have even coverage and that it soaks down into the wood. So that's the purpose of putting it on thickly and then wiping it back off. Then I'm going to start on the top with the white paint. But look how easy this makes so that you can get your edge nice and flat. If you put your paintbrush to the edge and pull it back toward the center, you can get a nice crisp edge on the top. Then we're going to dry it, of course. You can see that I got some stain on the back as well. And we'll take this beautiful napkin, and it's got 2 prints on it, so it's repetitive, you know, it's 2 different prints, and it's in 4. I'm going to cut it right down the middle and decide which section I want to go on this little standing sign. I'm going to take my layers apart and then lay it on here. Now, some napkins have 1 layer, some have 2, and there may even be more than that, you know. But for this one, there were 2, and I took those off, and you can see that it's quite translucent now. Putting this white on here will really make the colors in that beautiful watercolor pop. For my taste, I'm just going to use the satin, and I'm going to put a nice smooth layer on there and put this delicate piece right on top. Now, when I say delicate, I really do mean it. You have to be super careful when you use tissue or you use a 1-ply of a napkin. They're very thin, and once they're wet, they can tear easily. So I'm very gently using my brayer over the top, and then I'll just barely let the weight of the brayer itself rub that across the top. I don't want to tear anything, so I'm just very gently going around it. I'm going to cut off the excess because, you know, you can always use that on another project. I got part of the bee butt on there. Cut the rest of it out. Look at that little bee butt. And this is how it's going to look so far. Give it a chance to dry, and then once it is dry, you can take a finger sander or a sanding block or an emery board, whatever you have there, and just start filing off the excess. Be sure that you're not filing down on top of the area that you've put the wax on, or you're going to be lifting the wax back up. Unless you like that look, then go right ahead and do that. Down and away, and this will just shear that off, and you can easily pull that off of there. And you get a very clean finish. And this is how it's going to look so far. And then I know I want to put it on the stand, so yeah, it's going to look good there, but we need to make that print look similar to what is going on in that stand. I could always repaint it, but you know, we'll see what we do. You can use screws, whatever you want to attach this back with, but for me, I repurpose a lot of things, so some hot glue is going to work fine for me. And I'll just put a little scrap of burlap over the top of it to help kind of sandwich that down in between and give it a little more stability. The wood is very light, it doesn't take a lot to hold it up. So now we want to try to make that match the stand that it's on by just adding a little bit of the antiquing wax, taking most of it off, and then starting to work around the edges and across the top. I really don't want to mess this up too bad, so I like to work in kind of like stages, a little bit at a time until I get it as dark as I like it. And I really like it. And can you see very lightly that blue underneath there? It's like a blue honeycomb. Very pretty. Yeah, I think this is definitely looking good. We can add a little something extra to it for the ladies and gents out there who like little bows or something a little extra. So I've got some raffia here. Maybe I got this from Dollar Tree. I can't remember because it wasn't in the original packaging, but I know you can get stuff like this at Dollar Tree. It matches the lavender that is in the picture, so I'm just going to use a piece of it. I'm going to use it still bundled up, and then I'll just cut a piece off, tie it in the middle, and that's going to help make the base of our bow. Because it's an easy and inexpensive way to make beautiful decor for your home, and that's what we like to do on this channel, right? Of course. All right, so all I'm doing is just simply tying it around the back. Very easy to do. Snipping off a little bit of the extra, and then just kind of fluffing out the little loops that will be the parts of our bow. And like I said, you certainly don't have to put a bow on there if you don't want to, but this is just for those who really like a bow. I think this one turned out very cute. And you can also get little wood pieces at the Dollar Tree to craft with the candle. We're going to use a broken candle. It's squished on one side. I got it at the thrift store. There's a crack in it somewhere, and we're going to cover it up and make it new. Going to use some Mod Podge, some more of the napkin, this entire piece. I'm just going to put a little something underneath the edge of it to keep it from rolling on my table, and I'll take that same satin Mod Podge and go all over it. drops all over it in a nice even coat. You want it to be an even coat, and you don't want to do too thick when you use paper. Paper or tissue, you don't want to make it too thick. If you're using fabric, you can go ahead and put more on there because fabric is thicker, right? So you have to be very careful. But it is so worth your patience. Believe me, it is so worth your patience. When you find that beautiful print that you really love, and you think, you know, why do they just put these on napkins? This would have been beautiful on a piece of decor. So you know what we do? We use that inspiration and we make our own decor. Okay, so now I know this is the right size because I've already measured and it's the perfect size, luckily. If not, you know, you can cut yours down. I'm going to very gently stand it on the table and then work my way around the candle. Tap, tap, tapping it. Not dragging it, not pushing down hard. I'm barely putting my hand on there. Barely. No matter how rough it might look, believe me, I'm being very careful. So we have a little excess in the back where it overlaps. I'm just going to cut that off, but you can certainly leave it on and don't worry about cutting it off. Totally up to you. It's going to be in the back. It's on that side where my candle is dented and where the crack is, so no one's going to see it. I'll be sure that I put it in a place where it won't be as noticeable. And look how simple this is. Now, how long did that actually take? I mean, of course, thinking about the dry time too, but you know, how long did that take? That was so easy. This is a very beginner-friendly project, I think. Look how pretty it is when it's lit up. Oh, I hope you like this. And if you're a new crafter, I hope you do this. You can also get flameless candles at the Dollar Tree. So go find some napkins you like or some tissue paper that you like and get you a flameless candle and start crafting. If you don't have Mod Podge, you can use school glue. Using a cup I already had that I got on clearance at Hobby Lobby. I'm going to use some of that same Mod Podge and a brush and the same napkin. Look how we're really stretching our dollar in this video, right? All right, so now I'm going to divide my napkin again. Just pull that apart. And if you have a hard time getting your napkin apart, take your fingers on the edge of the print and just kind of roll them back and forth like you're rolling a little ball of clay in your fingers, and it should separate. If not, just keep working with it and be patient, and you can get that off. I'm going to cut out pieces that I like and make my own print on the side of the napkin. So I'm going to, and you can see here I didn't divide it all the way. So I still have another layer on there, which I'll get, don't worry. I'll get it. Now you can see I took it off, and you see the difference, how clear that is. I'm going to put that satin Mod Podge on here. This cup will not be used for drinking. It's only for decor. If you wanted to use a cup, full-size cup to do this, you could, but you need to use dishwasher safe. All right? So I'm going to add a little Mod Podge, thin amount, and I'm just going to decide where I want that little bee to be. And then I'm just kind of tapping it into place right here. You can do this with your fingers, just like to give you options. And then very carefully, I'm going to go back over that bee around the edges. I mean, I am barely touching this. You want to get that on there and then quit touching it. You don't want to put much on there while it is really wet because you can drag that print off and it can tear. All right, so now we're going to work our way around the cup. I'm going to add a little bit more. And we have this thin piece. I think I'm going to add it sideways on here. I like that. That way I can get the whole print on because I really wanted the green and the purple on there. So the greenery and the floral part, you just put it on there sideways. I can make it my own, can I? Yep, if this is what brings me joy, I can make it my own. And so can you. So I'm adding another piece on here, sort of overlapping into the greenery. The bee has had a little chance to start drying, so I can add a little more over the top. I want the layering to be about the same. I want everything to be about the same so I don't have any clumpy areas and any areas that are being missed by the Mod Podge. We want it all locked in there. This is especially important if you plan on using a full-size cup and you want to be able to use this to, to drink from or what have you. Put flowers in, live flowers, anything that you're going to be getting wet. You really want to make sure that everything is locked in. All right, now I'm just working around the handle there. See, now it looks like the bee is having some nectar out of that beautiful little yellow flower. Pretty. I like the look of it. All right, now it's dried. This is how it looks. And we can just add florals. Very easy, another beginner friendly type floral. All you have to do is get your scraps and just tuck them in there. I'm just going by the colors that are in the print that I chose, and I'm just going to add those pieces in there. Since it's springtime, I decided that I would make these look a little bit springy with the colors that I chose, but you can do this any way you like. You can certainly do this. And by the way, if you are a new crafter, I encourage you to keep your scraps absolutely with the florals. So this is a little, I don't know what this is actually. I'm going to call this a plant stand because that's what it looks like to me. But I don't know what the little dip is for in there. Then this fits almost perfectly on the top. This time, rather than using Mod Podge, we are going to use a glue stick. This is a school glue stick, and I'm going to show you how to use it. Now I've got down to my one layer, chosen the print that I like off the napkin. My piece is already a tad aged, it's got some scratching and scraping, and I'm going to leave it just like that while we put this on the top. I'm going to make sure that I go around the edges and then all over the top so there are no gaps. I don't want bubbles or anything, so I'm really laying it on thick here. This purple will fade to clear when it is dry. Now I'm going to put this print right on top while it is still wet, carefully tapping it, and then I'm looking to make sure that it's across all the sides and I don't have any space. And I am barely touching this, feathering my fingers over it. Then I'll use my brayer and just gently roll over the top. The school glue is not as wet. You can use a little more pressure when you use school glue than you can when you use a wet product like glue or Mod Podge. When it is dry, we're going to go around the edges here and just sand that off, just like we sanded it off on the very first project. You want to go around the entire top and get all of those little edge pieces off. Then it's almost going to look like it was hand painted on the little riser. I love that. This is going to make an adorable honey plant stand. Absolutely. I'm going to take some celery because I decided I want the bottom to be a different color. So I'm just going to grab my chalk paint and a flat brush, and I'm going to go all over the bottom section. I'll leave the top white and the underneath white. Nobody's going to be looking at any part of that. And in the areas that you see me get a little bit sloppy here, I will go back over that with a little bit of white chalk paint to freshen it back up. So it's very easy to erase it once the paint is dry. You just go over it with a little white. Here is that little plant stand. Very cute. I can see a little succulent sitting on top of this. I think that would be precious. Little hens and chicks. Going to use ivory chalk paint, paintbrush, some burlap from Dollar Tree. I'm going to use a vinyl bee sticker, and then 2 of these little signs from the Dollar Tree. They look like tags. On one of these pieces, I'm going to be cutting out and covering it with the burlap. Protect your fingers. We're going to be touching hot glue. I'm going to put that glue down here, and then take my covered fingers and then press it down and hold it in place for a moment to catch. And then on this side, I'm going to add some hot glue. A little bit more on this side. I would love it if you're enjoying the video to give me a thumbs up so that I know that you like the content, that what I am doing on my channel is something that you enjoy. Always, always, I ask that you comment down below because we are active in the comments. Not only do I comment, but other sweet, sweet watchers will also comment on your videos if there's any way that they can help you. We have a close, tight-knit community here. We keep the comments clean and safe, and I want you to feel at home. All right, so now we're just going around the back, and we're adding all the pieces down with the hot glue. I'm trying to make my corners kind of neat and folded in so that they look manufactured instead of just slapped together. And then once I give the glue a chance to set, I'll grab my scissors and trim off the excess, just to make it a little less bulky, because in the end you'll want to go back over this and add some type of a crafting paper or something to cover up the back, make it nice and neat. Just tucking that corner, rolling it over, pressing it down, and then trimming off the excess again. Then I'm going to go in the top, and this will be our last little piece that we have to add the hot glue to keep this nice and neat. Did y'all see the little bee there? The bee says, "Be happy." Y'all remember that song? Yes, I remember it. I sure do. Now, I chose ivory because it's very similar to the shade of white or cream that is in the bee sticker, and I want it to look like it belongs together. But I could have used white because there's white on this fabric. So I have this little loop. It came from Dollar Tree in a little bag. I don't really even know what these things are. They look nice. It gives it a finished look when you put your rope or your twine or your ribbon through the top. But you'll see what I mean. So I'm taking my very tiny sharp detail scissors. I've just cut an X in there and I'm trimming it out. I want that to be open. And at first I think, okay, let's use some antiquing wax on here. So if you want to use antiquing wax, this is what you'll do. Very easy. Dip into it and then just kind of put it all over there. The only place you won't put the antiquing wax is going to be on the bottom part where you'll have glue. Okay, because glue and antiquing wax do not mix. They repel one another and they won't stick. I'm going to take my finger protector and some hot glue and push the ends into the inside, and then you can put this right on top. It's a little bit bigger than the diameter of the hole, but you know, we're going to fix that. Don't worry about that. We're going to fix it. So once it is glued in place and I look at it, I'm thinking, no, let's do black. So I will go back over this entire thing with black, which is what you see me doing here. Chalk paint, for those of you who wonder why we always use chalk paint, it dries quickly. It gives a nice full coverage. So a lot of crafters like a mineral or chalk paint for that reason. All right, so here is my bee. I did get my bee from Temu, but you can print yours out yourself. If you have, if you have a Cricut or some type of a printing tool, you can do it yourself. Or you could even print something off on, a colored printer, cut it out and decoupage it. Because now you know how to decoupage, right? We already looked at how to do it with the other projects, so you'll know exactly what you're doing. So I'm just going to press this bee onto here with my hands. The paper or the backing looks wrinkly, but it's really not. And I'm pretty sure when I put this down, I should have divided again with the paper, but I didn't do that and it turned out completely fine. So I am just going to push this down. I have a Mod Podge squeegee, but you use a credit card, you can use your driver's license, whatever you want to use for this. And I am going to begin to take the backing right off of here. So as I'm doing this, I'm not using any type of a weeding tool because maybe you don't have one, but you can buy them at Dollar Tree if you're interested. I'm going to just gently pull and make sure that I am looking under the edge so that I'm not pulling off a leg or any fine details in here. You can see the bee has kind of like a fuzzy looking edge around its body, and I want to leave that there. I don't want to tear any of that off. Now I'm taking that squeegee and going right back over. It is laying nice and flat and thin and beautifully. And I was instructed by several people that the honeybees are all female. The ones who protect the queen, they are all female. So the queen has her squad, and I love that. Who better to protect you than your buddies, right? Absolutely love it. So now I want to, of course, age this. You don't have to do this step if you don't want, but I've just got a little bit of my antiquing wax. And by pouncing it, I push that antiquing wax up into the bristles of the brush. And then I am just going to pat a little bit off and then go all around the edges of this board. I'm also going to get in, I think I cut it out in the editing, but kind of around the bee to give a little shadow around that bee as well. And you just do light layers until you get it the color you want. And then I also went around the hole on the top. So now I'm going to take my hot glue and I'm just going to start off by making sure that I have those two holes lined up on the top and that my bee antenna are not hidden. I want my bee to show. Then I'll just use some of these little clamps to clamp this in place because I'm going to be lifting up on this part slightly to add glue in there to attach the two pieces together. I'll hold it down for a moment and then grab some weights. And then I'm going to use this pretty piece of trim. I think this came from Dollar Tree. I am going to double it over onto itself about an inch from the end, glue it onto itself so it makes one continuous circle. And then I am going to let it dry. You can see it's a very tight bond. And then I'll go right through the center, pull it through the back, grab the back, and pull it up on the top. Make sure that my ribbon is laying nicely. And then if you would like to put a bow on there, you can certainly do it, but I skipped it for this one. It was still kind of spinning when I did this end screen, so I apologize for that. I don't want to make anyone dizzy, but it was still moving a bit. You can iron your burlap, I'm sure, to get the lines out, but it didn't bother me for my project. So we have some more of the raffia in yellow. I have a little honey dipper spoon. I got a bag of these, a brush, some Mod Podge. This one is dishwasher safe. Now see, I thrift these things. This says Wagner, and I don't know what it says on the side, but it's a little jar with a little plug top. And then some fabric from Dollar Tree that I got last year. Yes, last year. They may have it again this year. So now we're going to be Mod Podging with a little bit of fabric. All I'm doing is tearing a piece down that will work on the size of this bottle. You can cut it as well, but I like it kind of rough and kind of tattered on the edges. I'm going to add on my Mod Podge, and I'm putting a little bit more on there than I would for the tissue. Same process of lining it up till I get it stuck down. Now with the fabric, you do have the liberty of moving it around a little bit before your Mod Podge dries. So if anything looks crooked, you can kind of slide it. Now I'm going away from the edge, and then when I get close to the top and the bottom, I'm brushing downward so that the little frayed areas will show. I don't want them haphazard looking. You know what I mean? Now with the fabric, I don't think I cut this off. I think I just overlap it. So you can overlap if you want to. It's going to be on the back. Continue along until I get this saturated. And I can kind of tell how much is on there by the look of it. You'll know what I mean. You know wet fabric from dry fabric. Now this is a baby wipe, and I'm just going along, wiping off any little smears because it'll leave a hazy area, and I want the glass to be nice and crisp and clear. We're going to set it aside and let it dry. And I'm going to use some gloss Mod Podge and some King's Gold. Use whatever color you want to try to make a honey color. Okay, I haven't found the perfect one yet, and the only yellow glue stick that I had that I was going to use has glitter in it. So I don't think that was appropriate either. I just add a little brown to it because it's looking a little too mustardy. And then in my end result, it's still a little mustardy, but that's okay. I was hoping it would have more of a clear look, but it didn't. But I'm all right with that because this is a craft, right? I'm going to pour some of that into the jar, swirl it around, roll it on its side so that it goes up the sides. It almost looks like when the honey crystallizes. You know how it looks when it crystallizes? Now I'm going to pour the excess back in there. And then you'll need to find some way to hang it upside down so that air can circulate on the inside, but the paint can drip to the outside. So I'm using a spray paint can top and 2 little wood sticks. Now I'm going to go in there with because I decided I didn't want it that high up. It was just a mess. So I'm taking a damp baby wipe and my finger and cleaning up the edge on the inside so it looks like maybe the jar's not completely full, but there's still some in the bottom. Now we're going to dip our little spoon. Dip it straight in there and then let it drip and then find some way to dry it. I used a clamp and a cookie rack so that it will drip downward and dry that way. Here is the dried bottle. I love this. This is so precious to me, and how cute on a tiered tray. Here's a spoon with almost a drip coming off the bottom, and then I'm going to I found some black raffia in my stash, so we're going to use that too, and we're going to tie it across the top on the neck of that little jar or bottle, and then I'm going to start another knot on the same side, leaving a little gap in there so we can put the spoon in. Now, as long as this is sitting somewhere like this, the spoon will stay in place. But you might want to add a little bit of hot glue if you plan on moving it around a lot, because it can freely slide out of that tie. And now I'm carefully making sure that my little pieces of raffia are straight. You know, if you pull these too hard, they'll just break. So you got to be careful with them. And then I'm going to trim them, tweak them out a little bit, and you can still move that around so you can see whatever part of the pattern that you like best. This is very cute to me. I really like this one. All right, so here is some more of that raffia in black and beige and yellow, a oval embroidery hoop. Here is that measurement. It's about 9 inches, and some more of that beautiful bee fabric. I'm going to open up the loop. You just kind of unscrew it if you're not familiar with it. Just unscrew it a little bit. Take your antiquing wax and color the hoop. You don't necessarily have to do the bottom, so I'm not showing you when I do that because it didn't matter. I'm going to go all over the top. I am using a baby wipe. The dampness from the baby wipe is going to make this a little more sheer than it would be if you put it on with a brush. So that's why you see me using this. I'm trying to explain everything in this video in case any of you are new to crafting or staining or Mod Podging, whatever the issue may be. I want everyone to feel comfortable here. You can do this. You can find so much joy in crafting, and it is so important. It's like a mission to me for people to find joy in their life. I just feel drawn to that. I feel like that's something that I need to do, and what better way to do it than crafting? Now I'm going to cut off a little bit of fabric. I did lay the embroidery hoop on top to make sure that I had enough to cover the frame, and then I'll look and see through there which part of the print that I like the best. And I took the side that had more bees in it, pull my little edges, make it nice and neat. We will be trimming it off, so you know you don't have to do that, but it bugs me, so I do it. I'm going to lay this on top of the solid piece, making sure I have some overhang. And then I'll make sure that it is unscrewed on the top because that's what holds it together. And then gently press that down onto the bottom without scooting the fabric around. Not difficult at all. And I noticed Dollar Tree has some little embroidery hoops in a little kit that are round. So if you don't have something like this, go ahead and use the ones that are round. Just make them a little bit smaller. That will be nice too. All right, so now what you see me doing is holding it in place, but making sure I don't have wrinkles and buckles in the fabric. So you can kind of adjust that a little bit because nothing is glued down, right? I'll take some small scissors and I'll lay the blades right on the side of the wood frame and trim off all the excess. Now, if there's anything on there that you can use, save your excess because you could use it for something else. Now with an oval, you can use it either way. You can use it, you know, up and down, or you can do side to side. I like the idea of it being fat like a little pumpkin, so I'm going to do it this way. We're going to make a very simple bow for the top. I'm going to grab the ends here. And then I'm going to use my hand, see my 4 fingers here as my measurement. I got them to my pinky finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then after my 6th loop, I'm going to grab it in the middle, cut off the ends. I'm going to hold both sides and pinch them to the center. And that's going to be the top of our bow. Isn't that a cute bow with all the different colors that coordinate with the print? And how easy, very easy, y'all. Now we're going to tie it around the middle. If you want to have tails on your bow, I'm going to show you how you can very simply add some tails on your bow. But first we're going to tie it off so it's easier to manage. You see how that breaks? Yeah, you can't tie it too tight. You could also use jute if you're worried about it. Now I'm going to pull down about 14 inches and I'm going to do that twice. So there are 2 of each color. And then I'm going to tie this right around the middle of that bow where we tied it with the black. Now I'm only going to tie one time and I'm not going to put another knot in it yet because we're going to use a little piece of wire in here so that we can attach it onto the frame. You're going to fluff your little bow out a little bit. You can see how it's going to look. Also, if you like it a little bit messier, you can take your scissors and go right through the edges of the loops and make it a little messy bow. So we're going to just take advantage of the fact that there's a screw that's holding this together and we're going to attach it with that. Now I can tie this tightly, put another knot in it, and make this wire what attaches this to the top. Going to go right around the base of that screw where it attaches, twist it on a couple of times, of course. We want it to be sturdy, and then we'll trim it off with our wire cutters. If you have a thin enough wire, you could probably just use some shears for that. And then a dot of hot glue to make this stand still up there. And then you can cut your tails down to whatever size you like best. You can fluff them out, you can fluff them all the way around, cut them a little at a time until you get them the right length. And then I'm just making sure that I've pulled out a little bit of each color. Very easy to do. And how cute is that? You can hang it on the wall right off of the frame, or you could also, if you wanted to make a hanger with burlap, you could make a hanger, or you could just prop it up in your tier tray. All right, some more of that Mod Podge in a brush. I'm going to use some black chalk paint, rich black, candle holder. This one I think I got from the thrift store, but you can definitely use one from Dollar Tree. Another piece of that bee fabric, and this little piece came from Target. We're going to take that black chalk paint and we are going to paint it all over this little thing, except we're not going to paint the bottom. You can also use spray paint to do that if you would like. Now I'm going to use a mold here. These came from Temu, and I'm going to decide what size circle I want. This is so much easier than the way I used to have to do this. I'm going to flip the fabric over, making sure I've got the prints that I want, and I want those 2 bees in there. And then using a pencil, I'm going to gently trace out an outline of the circle. That's why I said do it slowly, because it will pop up. It's thin plastic or vinyl, whatever it is. And then I'll get my scissors. I'm cutting out right to the inside of that line, but actually I probably should have cut a little bit more onto the inside because it ends up being a bit too big. But I will fix it carefully with this. Now, if you have something that's the exact same measurement, you could always use that. I could have used another one of the round pieces to do it and trace it out that way, I suppose. But you know how it is when you're in a rush and you're working. I did 10 projects this day, y'all. 10. So you see here, it's still a little bit big. So I thought, I know what I can do. I'm going to fold it in half, fold it again. And then I'm going to take my very sharp scissors and I'm going to trim just a little bit more off on the inside, trying to keep that same amount all the way around, making sure it's nice and smooth. And now when I open it up, it fits. Now, is it perfect? Absolutely not. But the fact that the fabric backing is white and so is the top of this little plate, it's going to blend in. You're really not going to notice it. And if somebody's looking that closely and critiquing your work, they don't need to be at your house, right? Yeah, that's right. Okay, so I'm adding a little more Mod Podge on here because, again, we're using fabric, so it can tolerate a little more. And you really need to lock it in. So once we get that pushed down and all in place, a squeegee really won't fit in there. I'm just using my finger and I can feel to make sure it's smooth. I'm going to go over the top of it with the Mod Podge to seal it in place. Now, if you're going to be using this for like to put your wet rings on when you're washing dishes or whatever might possibly be wet, what are we going to use? The dishwasher safe. That is correct. So we're not going to worry about this for that because I'm not going to use it for that. I'm going to put a flameless candle on there. It's going to be good to go. All right, so let everything dry. Then we need to attach the bottom to the plate. And I'm going to have this upside down because I want the bottom, which has the most surface area, to be able to grip the glue. It's a little harder to do a ring of glue and expect it to stay in place. So we're just flipping it over and it's going to give it more stability this way as well. I'm eyeballing it, of course, to keep it in place. This is what it's going to look like when that glue has had a chance to dry. I'll take a scrap of that and use it almost like a ribbon to tie around here. Y'all, if you love bees and bee decor and bee everything, please go check out my store because I have designed my own bee decor and I have got some really cute stuff over there. You can get cups, bags, t-shirts, hoodies, whatever you like, and the money helps support the channel. So if you're interested in something like that, go over there and check it out. They also make really cute gifts. So now I've just got a simple bow on there, right? I'm going to trim this off and then I will add this to my bee decor pieces. You could also paint that bottom white if you want, or gold, or whatever you like. Make it your own. Another scrap of that fabric. We are stretching our dollar here, y'all, with a solid bee. We want the whole bee. Some very sharp little detail scissors. This is an antique potato masher or a pestle, which I got when I was thrifting. 11 inches tall. And then I'm going to use coordinating ribbon. One is from Big Lots and the other is from a clearance sale at Hobby Lobby. I'm going to take those very fine detail scissors and I am going to cut all around these little legs. Now, I cut around the legs. Hindsight, I should have just removed the legs and then drawn them in because I do remove the antenna because they're so thin. So I'm just going to take the antenna off and I'm going to add some more in the end, okay? I am going to take that Mod Podge, put it on that bee once I get it cut out the way I like it. If you can't find the fabric, think about doing this with a napkin. Think about doing this with a sticker. Maybe you found some stickers with bees that you really like. Really think outside the box. Use my videos for inspiration because you probably will never have exactly everything that I use, but you can certainly find things that will work in its place, right? Grab that inspiration. Now I'm going to add this Mod Podge on here to get this down. And I like the idea of using the satin on here because in the end, this wood looks so rich and pretty. It looks like it has been polished. And we're going to continue that Mod Podge all the way up, all the way around it, and up on the handle as well. You want to be sure that you are making nice, even strokes and try not to leave any sections that are very thin and any sections that are clumpy and thick because you will see that in the finish if you do. So make this nice and even, just like if you were painting. Imagine yourself painting this on, okay? Then I'm going to add it up here on the handle as well and around the connection piece there where it all sticks together because I don't believe this was all made into one piece. And after it's dry, look how pretty this is. See the difference between the bottom and this? Gorgeous. I want to age that bee and really make him pop. So I'm going to go into my antiquing wax, tap a lot of that off, and use this little brush. You can get little foam brushes at Dollar Tree, pretty much anywhere that you get craft supplies. And I'm going to go all the way around it, overlapping onto the wood and partly onto the bee. I'll use a fine tip marker. This happens to just be a permanent glass marker, and draw his antenna back on there. And then also I'll go over the legs as well to kind of, really bring that back out. I'll take some of this beautiful plaid ribbon, and this is fall ribbon actually, but it works great for the bees. And I'm thinking of what size I'm going to need if I want to put a bow on here. And I do want to put a bow on here because this is going to be cute on a kitchen tier tray or near a coffee bar. It'll be really cute. It's kind of tall for a tier tray, I guess, but you can put things near each other. Maybe even put this in a basket of decor that you have. Some wooden spoons or a collection that you have of kitchen utensils would be very nice as well. I want the bottom bow to be larger, and we're going to put the thinner bow on top and make it a little bit smaller. So the loops will be smaller and the tails will be shorter. Using a little bit of jute, I am going to put it across the center, turn it around, and then give that a couple of knots. This jute is going to be what we use to attach it to the handle of the masher. You can put it anywhere along, but there's a crease right there at the top or a little indentation, and that's a perfect place to put a tie because it won't slide up or down. It'll stay right there in that little nook or the little crook. And then we can cut that off. All right, so you can dovetail or cut it aslant, and look how precious this is. Look how the bow really makes the color in that bee pop. It just needed it. It surely needed it. But you can also add a little flower bouquet or a swag to the top. Put a flower right in the middle of that bow if you'd like. So easy, y'all. So I've got some ribbons. I've got a little wreath. You can get these in a 2-pack at Dollar Tree. It's about 8 inches. I have never done this before, and I decided to give it a shot. This is just an idea I came up with on the fly. We're going to take 36 inches of ribbon that is, I believe this is 2.5-inch ribbon. It did say it on the, you might want to go backwards and check out and see what it said on the spool. I am going to take this wired ribbon and I'm going to start to pull the wire on one side, only one side. All right, so I'm going to grab my pliers to help me hold it. I'm not going to pull it all the way out. I'm going to pull several inches down, then I'll go to the other side and I will pull several inches down on that. What this is doing is making a gather. It's going to pleat this, just like you would if you were using a regular ribbon that you decided you wanted to make maybe a trim for, right? You could just sew on a stitch and then pull that thread to make it gather. Well, that's what we're doing here with the wire and sit. So we're going to make a beautiful ruffle. I want to make this into the size that will go nicely over the center ring, the very middle. Now this little wreath that I actually got when I was thrifting, but I know you can get the same size at Dollar Tree. So if it doesn't look the same as yours, don't panic. It's going to work the same way. Now I'm going to take my free end and connect it right around the middle just to start myself off so I know kind of where my placement is. I'm going to wrap it all the way around and then I'll be kind of tying it off, twisting it off, tying it off. Then I'm going to pull the other end around to the same area, twist that off. You can see it's still floppy. It's still kind of flopping around a little bit there. And then I'll twist it over around the other one to lock that in place. And now I can move the ribbon around a little bit on the wire to get the right amount of spacing in the little pleats, which is whatever looks good to you, right? So to attach it, you can sew it, but I couldn't find my sewing needles. All I could find was like the big thick ones, and I didn't have anything to go through them to attach them. So I'm going to show you how to do it if you don't have that, okay? So if you don't have that, you can just do it with hot glue. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to use my clamps here. I'm going to let that help hold the fabric where it needs to be against the frame while we add the hot glue on there. Now I can go around there on the inside. I don't want to glue the entire thing down, but you certainly could. I'm going to go on the inside and add it where it touches the wireframe. All the way around. Let it sit until it is cool. Then you can fix the little pleats because you still have the wire on the outside, right? We still have that outside wire, and that is going to help us make beautiful pleats and nice spacing wherever we need it. Now, it just so happens that when I was doing this, I left an area a little bit flatter than I would like, and that's where they connect, where I attached them to the frame. That's okay because I'm going to fix that. I was going to put a bow on here anyway, so we're just going to take advantage of the flat spot, and we'll put the bow there. Okay, so where it connects or where they touch, I'm going to kind of fold it over on itself, make a nice little seam, and then attach it to the ribbon, the other free edge. And now we have a seam and there's no opening. All right, I'm going to take a piece of that ribbon, same ribbon, and we're going to make a bow. Now, as I was experimenting, I removed the ribbon completely, the wire completely out of that piece of yellow and black ribbon. But you can use your wired ribbon for this. All right, so then I'm going to take this gold ribbon and we're going to put this right on top. Gold or yellow or mustard, whatever color you want to call this. They're both fall ribbons, but they work great, don't they? They really coordinate well with that fabric. I'm going to put those together, just like we did on the masher. Same sort of process, except I'm going to use one short end, and the other end I'm going to leave really long. I'm going to tie it in a knot right around the middle. Okay, I'm going to get that little short piece out of the way, and I am going to take that and the long tail and wrap it around the middle so we can actually see more of this. We like the idea of having the jute in here for this one, so we're going to wrap it around all the way back so we have just a little bit of a tail left. We'll take the free tail that I was holding and that other end, and we're going to tie that in a double knot. Now you have a pretty center for the bow. You don't have to cover it. You can use it as an accent piece. If you didn't use burlap and you wanted to use a really pretty thin ribbon, you could have used black here or gold here. Just a little something different to make it your own. Then, of course, we have to fluff out our beautiful little bow loops. Fluffy fluff. Cut the tails at whatever direction we like. So you can do this in a dovetail, which is cutting upward like this. Looks like a prize ribbon. Or you could also cut it at a slant like we did on the other bow. So you get so many different options, right? Ooh, I need to sharpen those scissors. And you can make it as long as short as you would like. We're going to leave this long. I'm just going to attach this with hot glue. It's very light, very easy. So I'm just taking a thin, this is just like a 1-inch spool of burlap ribbon, and I'm just going to wrap it around the outer two rungs because the outer two rungs are the only pieces that you're going to see or possibly see when you have this hanging. So this will cover up your hardware. And you could do that certainly before you start, but like I said, this was a new project for me, so it was kind of experimentation. But I think it turned out super, super cute. You could hang this off of a doorknob. How cute would this be? It was inspired by this cute little box here, this little box sign. Be humble. We're going to use some pipe cleaners or chenille stems. I'm going to use yellow. Then I've got some thrifted yellow deco mesh and 2 black from the Dollar Tree. I've got these ribbons from Dollar Tree as well in the gardening section. Very pretty little bee themes. And believe it or not, 9 feet on the roll. Not bad. I do use 2 sets of these. And we're going to use a bicycle wheel. This wreath form you can get at Dollar Tree as well, but we're going to try something different on this one. I've never done this before, so this is going to be a totally different wreath idea for me. It might not be for you, and if you watch a lot of crafters, maybe someone else has already done this, but as far as I know, this is definitely my first time, and I've never seen it made. Okay, so on the spokes of this little bicycle wreath, they kind of stick out over the edge of the loop, so I'm using that to help me hold those places, those pipe cleaners in place, so they won't slide around from section to section. And we're going to put one on each of these going all the way around this wreath form. And this would be a good idea if you are just looking for something to craft and you're going with what you have in your house, but you don't necessarily have another type of wreath form. So this is an idea for you. We're going to go every other spoke right in the middle. Now these will freely move back and forth, so just get it on there as you know, as snugly as you can. If you need to use a little bit of hot glue to hold it in place, you can certainly do that. I have done that before, but doing it this way and it's not glued down actually helps me later on to move the rows up a bit. And you'll see what I mean when we get to it. So this is every other one, and I'm just doing it in a contrasting color. Hopefully this will help you kind of get the idea of what we're doing here. So there are 12 on the outside and 6 on the inside. We are pretty much making 2 different rows. Now we're going to work on the outside first, so I'm going to just turn all of those pieces into the middle to get them out of the way. Skip this step if you don't need to do it. Just gets it out of the way, makes it a little bit neater for me, because you know deco mesh tries to snag on everything. Okay, now I'm going to move my pieces up and out just a little bit so they're sort of opened like a alligator mouth where we can get our mesh right into it. So what I'm using is 2 rows here, but if you're doing this yourself, you should probably use 1 yellow and 2 black, or at least 3 rows of whatever colors you like. So I'm going to put them together, pinch them up on the end. You see the difference in the quality of that yellow and the black? See how the black has the little taggy pieces and it's already got a fray where my hands are? The yellow one does not. It's stitched all the way on the edges and it is nice and smooth. I'm going to make 9-inch poofs on this wreath. They're close together, so we really don't have to make big poofs here. And if you use a wider deco mesh, like rather than using what is these, like a 5-inch maybe deco mesh, whatever that standard smaller size is, then if you use a bigger one like 10 inches, you're going to get a lot fluffier, thicker wreath. But if not, then go ahead and use 3 and you'll fill it out nicely. There I go again with the word nicely. Okay, so another little poof. We're going to put it down, and I just kind of hold it with my hand while I twist it around. Just a few little twists to hold it on there, making the same size poofs all the way around that wreath. This is easy to do. We're just going to keep the yellow on top and the black underneath. So now you can see what I mean. You can still see the wreath form underneath there to some extent. We'll be adding some things on there, so it's going to be thickened up quite a bit. But there are still some areas that you'll be able to see through, and if that doesn't bother you, that is fine. Doesn't bother me, that's for sure. I'm just going to start pulling these apart. I'll pull yellow to the inside, black to the outside, black to the inside, yellow to the outside. I'm alternating it all the way around. So the poofs are back and forth, back and forth. It almost looks like they are wrapped around one another. And had that black mesh been a little bit thicker or woven a little more tightly, it definitely would have covered more up. Now we're going to start with the ribbons. I'm going to put those together. And rather than measuring these, we're going to let the poofs underneath be the guide. So we're just going to lay them gently over the top at the same height as I'm going to go to the next section. Pinch it over and then settle it right over the top without crunching up the poof underneath. This is not hard to do. We're using the 2 colors. Yes, I think it's very bee-like. Sweet, right? I mean, what is sweeter actually? Of course, honey, but little bee butts with little fuzz on it. You know how they have the little yellow pollen that gets stuck on their little butts and their legs? That's cute. That's so cute. I love seeing the pictures of a little bee with its face stuck down in a flower, and they're so little chunky round bees. I don't know, they're cute. All right, so we're all the way back to the beginning, and you can see here that Dollar Tree does not measure correctly on their spools, because we definitely did not have enough of the polka dot one, which is supposed to be the same length as a striped one. Then we're going to start on our next row, which will be on the inside. I like that this wreath will begin to look like almost like a double bow, like the bows that you get, you know, the old bows that you could get in the packages, and you can still get them, that you put on a Christmas present. That's sort of what these look like. It sort of reminds me of a flower too. You'll see. All right, so now instead of doing 9, we're going to do 8, because we're on the inside and we don't need it to be as wide, and we don't want the inside to be poofier than the outside. So we're just going to go with a 8-inch poof, place it down, and if it moves back and forth, it doesn't matter, because you can freely squish it back in place. Remember, we're going to have that bee picture right in the middle,
So we'll be moving these out of the way. Okay, so the inside is done, and I'm going to grab some more ribbon. I took the whole 2 spools on the outside, so this is 2 more spools that we're going to use on the inside. All right, I'm making sure I don't pull anything out of place down here. Nothing. And then we're going to use the same process. So we're just going to lay it over the top of each one of those poofs without making it flat, but don't leave a lot of room because we want it to look like one wrap. You know what I mean when I say that, right? I'm going to continue along here. All right, so now we're back to our original starting place, and we can trim this off. I'm just going to cut it at a little dovetail, or you can do a slant, leaving just a little bit because I don't want anything to slip out, right? We don't want anything slipping out, and this doesn't take away from the wreath at all, having those little tails there. All right, so we can go ahead and prepare this to be placed onto the wreath, and I'm just going to use some very shallow staples and the stapler and put these pieces of pipe cleaner on here in 3 different places so that I can wrap these around the metal part of our wreath. And you can always reinforce this with a little bit of hot glue if you need to, but you certainly do not have to. It'll stay on there with the staples. All right, now remember the process we did with the black and yellow? We're going to do the same thing with the ribbon here. We're going to do dots and stripes, and stripes and dots. Dots, then stripes, and just keep going. And if you need to rearrange those poofs underneath, you can do that too. Just go ahead and move those out and get those fluffed up as good as you can fluff it. Nice and full and pretty. And you see the difference it already makes. Look how full this is. Now there are places where you can still see down, but you know, that doesn't bother me at all. And if you're trying to do it as affordable as possible, then you can't let that bother you either, right? It's going to be pretty. It's going to be fine. Now, since I'm not going to add anything else in here, I'm going to make sure, of course, that they are secured down, and then I'll just trim off all of the pipe cleaners. Just like on my floral arrangements, I look at it from all angles, make sure everything looks nice together. The only thing about this is that I wish that the ribbon yellow color would have been more similar to what I have going on in this bee picture, because I really, really like it, but it's not a golden yellow, pretty rich yellow. Now, we need something to stand this up so it doesn't sink down, right? Because we don't have a ton of poofs under there to help support it. So I'm just going to use the ribbon spool that we already used, glue it to the bottom, and then that's going to give it some support to stand up straight when we put the pipe cleaners through the mesh and down into the wire wreath. Now this is not the wreath that you are going to put on a glass door so that you can see both sides, or you're going to see the back of this. This you can put on a wall, a wood door, outside in your patio, something like that. And you don't necessarily want to use, if you've got hot glue on things, you don't necessarily want to use your cheap hot glue because you may have problems with, you know, if you glued anything on with it popping off. Very simple, and I know that you can do this. Okay, so here are some little wildflowers that I have off of other projects. This is some beautiful bee fabric that I got from the Crafter Square. I'm going to use some King's Gold, and it's kind of a goldish yellow color, and some paintbrushes. And of course, my antiquing wax, a brush, and a little finger dauber. I love my wax. It's well loved. You can see that, can't you? This frame that came from Dollar Tree, it looks like honeycomb. So hopefully these still have these. It's gold. I don't really care for that, but I'm going to keep it gold, but we're going to change it up a little bit. So I'm going to take the glass out, set that aside for another project. I'm going to push these little, whatever these are in the back, these tabs, and it'll help hold it up while we paint it. So I'm going to protect my surface and put that down and grab that King's Gold and start putting it on this frame. I'll go all over both sides. If it gets a little bit streaky, you can just go back over it. I don't see the need to have to paint this twice unless you really want to. I'll get the outer edges and the inside of this frame as well so that every bit of that metallic gold is covered. We're going to make this a little more cottagey, a little more rustic, and a little more to suit my home decor. But make it your own. Always, always make it your own. I'm going to use this as a template on another piece of cardboard. I saved my cardboard. You're going to see where this cardboard came from shortly. And I'm going to trace this out and then cut it out. And we'll use this as our backing. I don't want to put anything down on that little nubby pieces that are sticking out on the back. So you can either use scissors or you can use some type of a blade or something to cut that. Just be careful. Then I'm going to paint it white. I'm doing this so that the colors pop rather than being a dark color when I put it on. It would be a little more faint looking, I guess, and I don't want that. I want this to really stand out, all the beautiful gold, yellow, black, everything to really pop. And you can see when you put it against that white, as opposed to putting it against my table, look at the difference. You see the difference? So you can see this came from my Asian food takeout. Fortune cookies box. And I am going to just trim along here, and then we will be gluing this down. We enjoy our takeout food from time to time. Yes, we do. And they always put like a piece of cardboard in the bottom of the bag, which is very appreciated because it helps give it some stability, so you're not having your bowls and your boxes just kind of flapping around in there and spilling and all that. So I like the idea of doing this. Plus it gives me a little something free to craft with, you know. Hot glue, and then I'm going to press down right into that glue. You want to leave a little bit of edge if you're going to do it this way so that you have enough to fold over. If you cut it too close, you're going to be folding it to the edge and you're still going to have to worry about raveling and that sort of thing, or unraveling. Now I'm just pushing it down so it'll be kind of flat. And in the corners, I'm going to add a little bit of glue and then flip the corner over, almost like wrapping a gift, you know. Flip it over, press it down, do the same thing to the other side. Now, it will give you a little extra bulkiness in the corner, but that is not a problem unless you're going to be putting it back into the frame with the original backing. And then this would be a little too thick, but I'm not going to do that. Nope, not going to do that. Moving along, this is going to be the new back for it. Just a piece of cardstock. It's probably from a poster board. I try to get those when I can get them really cheap too. And they're fairly cheap at Dollar Tree. I've got this little corner cutter, and it's just like what you would use for scrapbooking or such. I got it from Temu. But you can just cut your edges straight. This is not necessary. I just wanted to use my new tool. Okay, so once it's dry, this is how it's going to look. Now we're going to age it. So here we go with my antiquing wax. Adding it and then tapping it off and then dragging it across so that it picks up on all the details in the honeycomb texture. I really like that. We're going to keep going here, and I'm going to get all around the edges as well. And then I'm going to bring that aging a little bit upward on the sides. This is more about the shadows and the textures in here rather than me aging it. I do like that it's rustic, and it is antiquing wax, but it gives it more of a earthy look. Just my opinion. And you know, like I said, if you enjoy the metallic, you can go ahead and leave it that way and just completely skip over this step. And you can put yours in there and it will be great. Always dry in between your layers, of course. We don't want any wax on our white fabric. Then I'm just going to place this back down. And we can put the cover on. You can glue your cover in place if you want to, but you know, it's not necessary. You can always just push your little tabs back down to hold it in place and it won't go anywhere. So far, so good. I like this. You could stop there if you want to, but I've got some dried florals that I want to use, also from Temu. Get yours anywhere. You can also get the stickers from Dollar Tree that look like ferns and little pieces of greenery, and you can use those. But I'm going to show you, if you decide you want to use something like this, how you can do it. It's really not that hard. It won't last as long as the sticker, you know, if you're dusting and that sort of thing, but you just have to be gentle with it, right? You just got to be gentle. Now I've got fern pieces and little baby breath pieces, some daisies, which are really pretty. And I'm just trying to lay them out in a place where I think they would look pretty. Got some tacky glue. And this works good for this because you have a moment to kind of move it before you have to keep everything down. It's not as thick as hot glue, so you're not going to have that messiness and the strings all over the place. And if you use a long tipped soft brush, you can get in there and gently, without much force, put the glue down on top to lock this in place. See, if you knock a piece off, you just glue it back down. But you really got to be careful. You can use your brush that is a little bit tacky to pick your pieces up like I just did. You can use a Cricut tool or a weeding tool to just tap it and pick it up. That makes it easy too. So those are just some little tips that might help you if you decide to do this. Maybe you even have some 4-leaf clovers that you've put in a Bible or in a book that you've saved. Is it just my family that has done that over the years, or does anybody else do that? Picking up 4-leaf clovers? I'm not so much. Now my vision is not that good. So now I'm just going to layer it how I would like it. I start by laying it out. I know how much I'm going to need, and I'm not moving stuff around too much. These little flowers, I'm not sure what they are, but they're so frail and lacy, just really pretty. I'm going to gently tap that into place in that glue that's already there. You gotta be super careful. You see how the flower just will stick to the back of that brush? And then I'm just going to place them in a way that I would if I was using faux florals, you know, or if I was using stickers and I was layering those. I like the idea of layering. To me, it looks more natural than just dotting a flower and then leaving a space and putting another one, then leaving a space. I like that natural look. And I hope that you like this too, and the idea of this, because it's different. It's different and I like it. I think the little bees in the picture will like it too. Yeah, that's good so far. And then I'll just do the bottom corner, and I'm going to do it essentially the exact same way. This is why it's important for your layers to be dry before you start putting things on, because you don't want, see I took another little flower tip off of there. You do not want for your wax to be wet and then you're rubbing wax all over the place. You just don't want you don't want all that. And so far, the wax has not repelled this glue. So these pieces are still on here, no problem. All right, look at that. Look at that. I hope that you're finding something on this channel valuable, that you are finding inspiration here, that you find this a safe place to come. I try to keep the comments very clean. I try to stay on top of those so that we're not being hounded by people asking for dates. And you know how it is down there, ladies. I've seen some men hounding y'all. I've seen it, but I block them as quick as I can. Don't come over to my channel with any of that bull. That's right. Don't come over here with that. Okay, so now I'm going to make a hanger. You don't even have to do this part if you don't want to, but I'm using a curtain ring, and I'm going to put some hot glue on the back with a little bit of ribbon through it. Place that down there, and then I'm going to add a little more because I did not put it on both sides. You got to be careful. Protect your fingers. I really like this. You can use a different method to hang it though if you would like to make it your own. All right, so this I thrifted, and I have had it for a while now. Not sure exactly what to do with it. I've got some blocks of foam. I've got this little bee kind little sweet gnome that I got at Dollar Tree. It's a garden stake. Got some more of those flowers, some fern pieces that I've recycled. Any greenery you like that would work. Here's another fern idea that I could use if I wanted to. It's some of these little fuzzy pieces. These are interesting. I'm not sure what it is, but I like it. I'm going to use several of these. This is plastic, and it's intended for strawberries, right? So it's actually supposed to be in the yard, but we're not going to use it for that. We're going to make it look that way though. But I want to clean it up. It's got some seams and things like that on it. I tried sanding it, but this little utility knife from Dollar Tree worked much better at getting that even. Then you're going to need to wash everything down, clean it all up. Anytime you thrift something, you should definitely be cleaning it. I actually take mine and put it in some hot soapy water and then dry it. I am going to remove the stake out of here because this stake is very difficult to cut. I don't want to break my cutters, so I've loosened it up with my heat tool, and I'm trying to get it out every way I can. So eventually it gave in and I got it off. We're going to put a new stake on the back though, but I'm going to use a piece of stem from some greenery I had, and I'm going to it's going right through the plastic part, but I'm not going through the metal, right? So it's almost like stripping a wire. And I'm going to pull the plastic piece off so that I have these two wires or metal pieces that will fit into here. This way I can easily cut this down to the right size. That's why I changed it out. In case y'all are wondering, why didn't you just leave the original one? Because it's too tall and I don't want to ruin those little cutters down there. Had them a long time, so I don't want the bee kind. It was kind of blurry when I bought it. All of the options were kind of blurry, so I've just blacked that out. You can go in there with a marker or a piece of chalk. You can write, specialize it. You can put a letter on there, whatever you want to do. But I thought, let's use some greenery on her. Let's use some of the same things we're going to be using in the arrangement to put right down on this cute little gnome girl. I assume it's a girl, maybe a boy, who knows, but it's got long braids. And then we're going to take some greenery and just make it look like she's holding like a little bouquet of flowers. Like she's been walking through a garden, she has picked these, and she is taking them back to her little house. Now I'm just cutting little pieces here and there of like the eucalyptus and the leaves and the flowers to just add them down. I actually even cut the little pieces of, looks like little seeds over there to the side. I actually cut those into little pieces too, and I'll be adding those rather than using them as a big piece. It would overwhelm her because it's such a little pick. So I'm trying to keep it, you know, a little bit closer to imaginary scale. Let's just put it that way. And then I'll add these here and there. And now she has a little bouquet. Isn't that cute? All right, so she needs to age a little bit, right? She's got to have a little dust on her. So I'm going to just put a little bit of this dried brush on here. I don't add anything extra to it at this point. Just going to go over some of that brightness and that yellow. And then where I have it on her little ponytails, I'm going to go back over it and take it right off those braids. Okay, so now here's our little pot all clean. I'm going to take it outside and I'm going to spray it down with some of this rustic orange. And then I'm going to distress it. I've got to have my projects clean first. If you want to have a dirty pot in your house, that is totally fine. So now it's been sprayed down. It is dry. And now I'm going to start aging it with my wax. So we're going to give that depth back to it. Right? We're going to give the depth back to it. I'm taking my brush, patting it in there. This has ridges all the way across, almost like as if it were a clay piece. So there are little ridges in here. I'm going to go over those ridges and use all of that as accent in here. I'm going to make this look like it has been sitting out in the yard. However, it is clean, so we can use it in our house. I think I'm going to use this in my screen porch area though. By the way, are y'all interested in watching me clean and decorate my screen porch? I have done that for a few years, and I would love to do that again for y'all if it's something you'd like to watch. Oh, y'all, I just got the notification that I have reached 9 million views on this channel. Yay! Thank y'all for watching. I appreciate it so much. Everybody who's watching and sharing and liking my videos and subscribing to my channel, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that so very much. Yay! 9 million! Man, that's humbling. That's a humbling number, y'all. Okay, once I get it together and dry, I'm going to drop a piece of concrete in the bottom. You can put some rocks in there, whatever you got to put in your pot. And I am going to start loading in my foam. Now, I put the concrete in there because I don't want this to get knocked over. And if you walked past it, it would probably fall right over. I'm going to make sure that I have some of this foam in each of the little window areas where the plants will be so that I can attach it. Doesn't have to make sense on the inside because it's all going to be covered up. All right, so here's a little different angle. I am going to take some of my floral picks, and most of them are kind of repeats. They all have pretty much the same thing on each little pick. And I'll add them into each of these little spots. Some are kind of upward, some are going to be kind of outward. Trim off anything you need to trim. It's slightly at an angle. You can see how it's kind of at an angle here. And you can reposition. Not a big deal because we're not gluing this down, right? So you can take these out and fix them anytime you need to. I'm going to cut these picks apart. By the way, these came from Temu. But you can use any greenery from any place you like, okay? Any place you like. There are people who watch the videos, though, who come from other countries and other areas where they don't have pound stores, they don't have Dollar Tree, and they're looking for affordable options, and anybody can get to Temu. So I like to give those people some options, okay? We don't need to talk about political stuff here. We don't do that now. Okay, so we're going to keep going. And I'm going to add these in. I like how they kind of fall over. I'm giving it that little spilled over appearance by just bending the end just a little bit. There's wire in the greenery, right? So you know you can change the shape of it anytime you would like to, just by flexing it, bending it, twisting it, however you want to do it. Whatever looks good to you and brings you joy, that's the right thing to do. I'll add more here and there where it looks a little bit fuller. And sometimes, according to how much I have, I'll just add it until I get it as full as I want it. The idea here is to make it pretty without having a bunch of the greenery still showing. We don't want a bunch of greenery showing. Now we're going to go around and keep adding. I've cut those pieces down a little bit smaller so they're like little sprigs of 3, and put those off to the side just to give it a little variety and texture difference. And so far, I think it's very pretty. If you have faux strawberries or faux berries of any type, you can certainly use those here. But you know, I like to take things that I thrift and kind of give them a different life and maybe let you see it from a different vantage point. So yeah, it's for berries and strawberries, but does it have to be? No, it doesn't. All right, so once we're satisfied with the look of the arrangement, pretty satisfied, and at any point I can change things out if I want. I'm going to take some more of those picks and just add those in the top. I don't want it to be too leggy, so I'll shove those stems as far as I can in there and fluff those out. We got to have a little grassy area for our gnome to stand in. Keep going. Bend some downward so they look like they're spilling over just slightly. Just a lot. It's a different texture, you know. I was going to use the ferns, but then I decided, no, we're gonna go with this in this project. We'll add the little gnome in there. And see, you can take that stem and easily cut it if you need to cut it. If it would have been a little bit stiffer, that would have been better to kind of hold her in place, but that's okay. That's all right. She is resting against the greenery. She's just kind of leaned back a little bit, chilling out. She's picked her flowers, and now she's resting. Just a few here and there. It gives it sort of a flyaway look. It extends it out just a little bit. It's very airy and springy and cottagey. And I love the fact that the colors match so much the other projects that we did with bees on it. So if you love bees, this is probably the thing for you. Now look at that, y'all. Think of all the ways you can do this. Look at all the different ways. Yeah, I think this is pretty good. I like this one. I like all the rest of them too, though. I think they're cute. Be sure when you're doing your projects that you're looking in all directions. Remember, you see me moving it around, looking at it at all angles, because you don't ever know where you're going to have a hole or something just doesn't seem to flow right. And because I didn't glue anything down, I can easily move it around. And it's porch that is covered, so I shouldn't have to worry about things being blown out of place, right? And because I put the concrete in the bottom, I also don't have to worry about it being knocked over unless it's a storm that comes through. So yeah, not bad at all. I'd love to have you as a YouTube subscriber. It means a lot to me. If you liked anything that you saw in this video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. It tells me I'm doing a good job, and it also tells YouTube that I'm working hard and doing a good job for my place of employment. Be somebody that someone looks up to. You never know who's watching you.
Dollar Tree placemat. And then I have 2 printouts, and I've got the links in the description box below for you. These are the 2 white 8x10 frames from Dollar Tree. Start by taking off the backing and the paper that's on the inside. You can leave the glass in. And we're going to use the back of this just to show you that you can get 2 backings from this. We're going to fold it in half. I creased it with my finger. Now I'm going to use my little Cricut tool and just press it down. This is going to make a nice little seam and a line so we can cut it right down the middle. Get some good sharp scissors and cut right through it. Now this is not fabric, it's plastic. Just cut through there. And then I'm going to use my rotary tool to trim it down to make it the same size as the backing. I'm going to use hot glue. You can use a couple of dots here or straight lines, whatever you choose to put this down. Now when I put this down, it didn't even cross my mind that this is like a mesh and then it would stick out. But you see how it comes out the top? You can rub that glue right off and it just completely disappears. It just becomes part of that mesh underneath and goes away. So you can see it just beads up. Just roll it with your finger and it'll come right off. But don't do that when it's super hot unless you got finger protectors on. You don't want to lose your fingerprints. Okay, now it's invisible. You can barely even tell it was there. And it is securely on the backing of our frame. Now I'm going to take my 2 signs. I'm going to take the first one and you're going to try to aim for about a 5x7 when you get done. That way you have plenty of border showing around the outside. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. I really didn't do like exact measurements. And then you can just use your first picture to help measure your second picture. Now I'm just trying to figure out my center, and I'm just gonna stick it down with some double stick tape. Simple, simple. Mod Podge would probably be too big of a mess here, and this tape holds it beautifully where you have no wrinkles, no smudging, no smearing, or any other type of problem. And I did use an inkjet printer to print off these beautiful little printables. Y'all need to look at my Pinterest too, because I have lots of free printables over there. They're from other people. I didn't make the printables, but I am sharing them. So you can go to my Pinterest. You can find all those links in the description box below. So I'm going to put the back on it, and look how perfect that is. Isn't that beautiful? It's like a double matted framed picture. So pretty. So I'm just running you back through how we do this with the second one. Same thing, trim it down. Doesn't have to be exact. And the good thing about these lines is you can kind of eyeball it to make sure that everything is lined up like it should be. But you can use any type of backing that you like. I thought that this black and white was beautiful with the bee prints. Isn't that gorgeous? Moving on to the next one, we're going to use one of these stacked book little decorations from a Dollar Tree. They're not put together very well, but you know, you can fix that if you want, or you can take the attitude that I had and nobody's going to look at the bottom or back, so you can just leave it alone. I took the little sad ribbon off, but we are going to use it. And then I've got some more beautiful ribbon from Dollar Tree. Love the blue ribbon, the bee ribbon, the honeycomb, and then the gold I already had. That came from the thrift store, I believe. I'm using some plaster chalk paint, but you can use whatever color you like. I think the white's going to be pretty here. And then these little dippers, these little spoons that I got from Goodwill. And then these gorgeous yellow flowers, just because they coordinate. You can use whatever color you like. I'm trying to stick with my theme of black, yellow, gold, white, you know, for bees. And I think it's a beautiful transition from coming out of winter and attempting to have some type of a spring weather. I live in the South, so we get spring early here. We get a very short winter. So if you live in the South, this type of thing might be right up your alley. Or if you live up north and you're cold, this ought to warm you right up. So I'm just going to paint this, all the surfaces that I'll see, and I'm going to use the back part of this beautiful calendar from Dollar Tree and trim it down. You know, there's the little bitty ones and there's a larger one that's in the corner. I'm just using my little trimmer here. I've got something close to it in my Amazon store. You can find that link in the description box if you are looking for something like this. Not the exact one, but something similar. I'm going to use my glue stick here to put this down on the box or the books, whichever one you want to call it. And you can stick this down any way you want. Use your double stick tape if that's what you have. Use your Mod Podge if that's what you have. This works fine for me. I'm just going to kind of pat it down with my hands in the spot that I lower than the middle because I want to put something on the top. And then I'm just using my brayer to press it down, but you can use whatever you want to make sure that it is firmly affixed to your surface. Now I have these manicure scissors that I use all the time in crafting for my little fussy cutting, and I'm going to just use it to go down the centers where the separations in the books would be, just to give it a little depth so that you can see that brown through there. It gives it a little shadow and makes it appear more like books stacked on top of one another. You certainly don't have to do that, and if you just barely put any on like I did on this end, then you wouldn't have to work so hard like I'm doing now. Hindsight, right? All right, so we're going to take this spoon and we're going to put some hot glue in it. Now if you have yellow glue sticks or gold glue sticks, you could definitely use that, but I don't, so I'm going to make do with what I have. I'm going to add a big spoonful of what is going to be our honey on here, and I'm going to hold it upright so that it will form a drip. And you can see here that it's starting to drip. I have sped it up a little bit, but it's starting to drip. Watch your fingers, it's hot. Let it drip down a little bit. Give it a second to kind of firm up, and then sit it down, let it dry the rest of the way. And look at that. Perfect. Now we're going to go on to our book while that is sitting up, and I'm just taking the side of the lid of a pencil and going across, dragging it across the edge of the books to make it look like pages. Make it a little more realistic, I think. And then the same thing on this side, just drag it across back and forth. You can just take your fingers or the side of your hand and just smear it just a little bit. And you see, it kind of looks like pages, right? Now, I'm attempting to make a glaze here. I'm using some gloss Mod Podge and some King's Gold. Going to shake them up. Going to use more of that Mod Podge and just a little bit of that really strongly pigmented gold there. Going to mix it up. You can add some brown to it to make it look more like the brown of honey, whichever one you want to do. But this was an experiment for me, so I think in the end it turned out good. Mix it up really well, and then I'm going to use a fine little tip brush here to go just along all around where that hot glue is. I'm not coloring my spoon with it because I want this to look like, to some extent, it should represent honey, right? It takes a few coats so that you don't have brush marks in here anymore, but be sure that you let it dry between each coat. Then I'm going to, while it's drying, work on decorating the book stack. So the binders of the books need a little something, and rather than writing, I thought it would be nice to just use some decorations on the spines of the books. So that's what I'm doing here. No words, just decorations. I'm using double stick tape and then a length of my ribbon to go on the top, and I'm just going to kind of alternate. I'm going to use the honeycomb on the top, and then the next layer will be the bees. And there's definitely a pattern to these bees, upright and upside down, so you might want to be mindful of that if in the end you find out that you put your bees on upside down after you've completed your work and then your heart is broken. Okay, so now we're down to the last layer, and this is how it's going to look, and I like it so far. Sometimes, you know, you just got to keep going on something when you kind of hesitate. Just keep going with it and see what happens. I mean, it's crafting. We make mistakes and we can fix things easily. So if the edges hanging over a little bit bother you, just take a little bit of your stick glue, rub it on there, and then press it down and hold it for a second, and it will cup under for you. So now the same two ribbons that I used before, I'm going to cut same length, and we're going to use that to go around the top of our box. And I think I have about 18 inches of ribbon in this. I think that's what it is. And I still have some ribbon left over, so I'm glad of that because I really, really like this. Now I'm fiddling around here to try to decide what type of a knot I want or how I want this ribbon to lay. So I've just decided to double knot the gold over the top of the little bee ribbon. And you can just twist those. If they won't lay right, use a little dab of glue, and then it'll stay just, you know, where you put it. But I like it right around the top. And I'm just going to slant cut these ribbons. I can't imagine trying to take the time to dovetail these. They're small ribbons. I don't think it's necessary. But you do whatever your little heart desires. Those little tails are staying exactly where I put them. And I'm going to add a flower because you've got to have flowers there, right, for bees? I could have used the little same flowers as on the box, but I just decided to use the roses. Now you can see this is an example of how they turn out when you've had several layers of paint. I think it looks like it has a little honey on it, maybe mustard. Okay, so I'm just going to divide the bottom just a little bit so we can see both colors. I think it gives a nice little touch. And I've just tucked that honey spoon right underneath the knot. Look at it from all your little angles and decide what else you need. I wanted to trim this stem a little bit and then make a few more little additions. You could also use something like if you had like a jeweled bee, or if you had a button with the bee on it, that would be really precious here if you wanted to try that. I'm just going to use the head off of one of the other little roses, and I'm going to tuck that right under that knot, and it will also help hold that spoon handle in place. Now they're all secure. What do you think about it? I really like this one. I think it looks pretty good. For the next one, I'm going to use one of these little printouts. I will link the video below where I made these. I'm going to use some glossy Mod Podge. I'm going to use some foam, a little watering can, some of these little flowers, and some greenery. Use whatever you like. So this is printed on tissue paper. All you have to do is just cut this out, You don't have to cut it real close because you're not going to see that because the backing is white and so is the can. I'm going to add my Mod Podge down in the area that I will be adding my little beehive or my skip, whichever one this is, since it has a little door on it. Whoops. Okay, now I'm going to gently press this in place. This is tissue paper, so keep in mind it is fragile. You don't want to be too rough with this. And then I'm going to help lay my edges down in the Mod Podge that's already there by just taking that same brush and just going over the top. Now you can see that I'm taking this flat brush and tapping it into the cracks in the details in that can. I like to do this because this makes it look more like it is hand painted. And then same thing here. If you need to add a little more Mod Podge, just add it on there. You could use school glue also if you would like, but I'm not sure that it has a glossy finish. And like I said, the can has an enamel look, so I want this to kind of blend in. A little more Mod Podge on there after it dries, just to keep everything secure and make sure everything is blended in nicely. I love this. These are so sweet. I mean, not if you get stung, but really, if you think about their sense of community and the way they protect one another, it's just a beautiful thing. There you go. Alright, so now all you have to do is start adding in your florals. I lost a piece of my footage. I don't know what happened. Can't find it. The camera ate it. So I'll tell you what I did briefly. If you imagine a star shape, right in the center of that star is where I placed my tallest greenery pick. And then I made points out from that with greenery, and then working my way upward, I added in my little flower picks. And I did that all the way around, and now what you're seeing me do is just going back in there with the extra little pieces and adding those in. You know how I do this. I use pretty much the same technique every time, and I have lots of videos where I do floral arrangements and things like that. So be sure you go, check those out. Go to my videos and find the ones that have floral arranging, and you can find some details, some better details on that. Again, I'm sorry about that. It's just gone. I don't know. It's gone. But now I'm just filling it out. One thing I always do is turn my project from side to side. You could use a turntable if that's helpful to do that. And just go round and round. Make sure you don't have any foam showing. Make sure everything is balanced and pretty. And I love the look of this white and green. It's so simple and cottagey to me, and I think it's just beautiful for springtime. Very simple and pretty. And you can use any type of greenery you have. You can use thrifted stuff. You can pull it off of other things that you have and use it again. I mean, repurpose your things. Really stretch your dollar. Okay, now I'm going to take 3 pieces of jute, and these are about 2 feet long, these stretches, these pieces. I get my jute from the Dollar Tree, but I do thrift it. When I see it, I pick it up. And I'm going to pull it up here around right under the lip. And I'm going to give it a tie. And then you can keep your things from slipping around if you just use a little bit of hot glue under the knot. It won't slide down, especially when you have those cans that you get from Dollar Tree, those little planters that are silver with the rope on them. They taper downward, so if you tie anything around the top, it's going to fall unless you add a little glue. So just keep that in mind. I'm just tying a very simple bow here, and I'm going to trim off my ends for a little extra embellishment on the top. And now I'm going to add my other honey spoon. Hot glue, I'm going to place it kind of behind the bow, and then pull my bow up and then separate those little layers of the strings. This adds that little rustic touch that I love to my cottage pieces. And I think it is just adorable. If you can't find the exact thing, you can always find something similar. This shouldn't even be a DIY, but I did do it myself, so I guess it qualifies. So these little candles came from Dollar Tree. I grabbed them knowing I could use them for these bee projects. Take a little piece of ribbon and go around the neck of each one of these. On this one, I'm going to use the gold, and I'm going to use that black and white that I already had. How about that? I'm going to wrap this one around, and I'm going to tie it very simply. You can use a dot of glue to hold that there in place if you need to, and then tie a double knot. I'm going to tuck underneath a little piece of greenery. You can go ahead and use the same that you used in the planter or the watering can if that's what you want to do. But I thought this yellow would be really pretty with this gold ribbon. So I just went ahead and used it. It's just a scrap. I keep all my little scraps in baskets and bowls and I just use them again. And I'm just tying 2 bows, one on top of the other one. Because they're so small, I couldn't tie them all at once. So I just tied them one on top of the other and they're overlapping. See how that's sticking out? All you gotta do is use a little drop of hot glue under the end and it'll glue straight down. Look at that. And there's the third one. I want you to try these projects. I believe in you. I've got lots of crafty people in my community and I'm getting so much wonderful feedback about inspiration, that you're feeling inspired, that you're crafting. Maybe you haven't crafted in a while and you're dragging your stuff back out and you're getting back into it. There's something to me so relaxing and joyous about crafting and just being expressive through your own crafting. You don't have to be just like anybody else. You don't have to do just like everybody else. Okay, we're gonna need some Waverly chalk paint and a chippy brush. I have my Farm Fresh calendar that my sister picked up for me, and we're gonna use the August 2022 artwork. I'm gonna use this puzzle box. It was a puzzle or a dress-up girl box. I get these all the time at the thrift store, so you're probably gonna find something like it, but they make the perfect shadow boxes, and they're lightweight and a good big size. So we're going to start off by removing our calendar page without tearing it. So I'm just trying to crease it a little bit, and then I decided to take my metal ruler's edge and just cut right through the page so that I could pull it off a little bit better. It pretty much scores it, makes a nice clean line. Even with that, my picture is a little too big, so I'm just going to take my metal ruler and my rotary tool and just trim that down. And I do make a little trim on the top and on the bottom so that I get a nice fit on the inside. You see that the back of the page has black writing. If you use a color in the background that is like a gray or a black, it's going to make that disappear. So that's what I'm doing here. But I'm not going to go all the way to the outside because I want this to have white on the parts that are visible. So I'm just going to take my gray paint, just one sloppy coat here. You don't have to be perfect with it. And then once it dries, I'm going to go ahead and take the white paint and I'm just going to give it kind of a dry brushed effect. I like the little wood showing through the paint, and so that's what you see me doing here. You just kind of tap off the paint, and I'm just using what's in the lid to just brush over here. I'm going to use the same technique on the edges of the box. And then when I get to the inside, I'm going to make the coat a little bit thicker. You can see right here what we're doing. I want to take this opportunity to invite you all to come over to my community tab. When you're subscribed, you'll be able to, so you can see here how I'm making this thicker because you'll be able to see it. Now we're going to put our calendar down. I've got my gray in the middle and my white border, and I'm just going to use a glue stick to put this down. But you can use whatever technique you like as far as gluing it down. You can even use some double stick tape if that's what you got available. You can use Mod Podge, whatever you have. So I'm just going to put this all over the gray section and right on the edge of the white so that everything sticks down nicely. And you can see how it kind of blends into the background now to look like one big picture. I'm going to take my little Mod Podge tool here, little scraper tool or squeegee tool, and just working a little bit from the inside to the outside so that I can press out any bubbles that may be in there. Inevitably, bubbles will pop up. Do your best with them, you know, depending on what you have, you may be able to lift them up a little and press them out. And it's just some paper. You can see it's just some paper here. They have theirs as like a table runner. Use it for that. But it fits nicely on the back here. It's a little overlap, but that's fine. And from now on, I'll be using this to back my projects, that they will look nice and neat on the back, because this is kind of nasty looking. I want it to be pretty from all angles. So I'm just using hot glue, but you can use whatever you want to use to stick yours down. This makes it quick and it makes a nice clean look. I'm just pressing this down on the edges because I'll be using my sanding block in just a moment to to sand that off. So continuing around the box, I'm just gonna work quickly so that my glue doesn't lift away, and it will. If you leave too much time, it won't stick, so just be careful. And continuing to crease around the edges until I get the entire thing done. This last little part, you have to, your glue gun sideways and then put it right into that crack. But it works. Then my foam sanding blocks, which I love these things. I get them from Dollar Tree, or $1.25 tree, as I like to say. And then you can see here, it just cuts right through that paper. It just takes it right off. Now, if you don't have this paper, you can't find it, not a big deal. Get that brown, I think it's postage paper. You can get it on a big roll at the Dollar Tree, and you can use it, cut it down, and use it for the back of your projects. It works really good. So you can see here, I just have a little bit I need to pull off where my glue overlapped. But otherwise, it looks nice, right? So now we need a hanger in case we want to hang it rather than having it sit up. When I do my final reveal, you'll see that I have mine showcased sitting up. But you can do this to hang it, and I want to just give you that option. This makes a really easy hanger. Again, it gives you a very neat backing in case you wanted to give it as a gift, or you know, you just want it to look nice in your home. And then you can see how it would look. And there's our beautiful little shadow box bee artwork. I love this. Tray, or a little dish, little trinket dish. You can see what's on the back. I got it at the thrift store, and it needs a little love, and I know exactly what I want to do to it. Always start by cleaning your supplies that you get from the Dollar Tree, and then from any place really, if you think that you're going to be painting it, because you don't want to leave little residue of wax and things like that, which is what was on here. So maybe somebody used it as a candle holder, but they hid the beautiful bee. So we're going to do something better to it. And I'm just using a little wipe here. It's an alcohol wipe, and I'm just going to use it and rub off that tag too. I'm going to use some Satin Blossom White Rust-Oleum paint and spray it down outside and give it 2 good coats. And so this is how it looks. The back, I don't like so much. I think I'm going to paint it black, but I know around the edges I'm going to use black. I tried a marker originally, and the marker looked awful, so I touched it up and then going back over it with a makeup sponge. So I'm just going to get some black chalkboard paint. I think I got it from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to go around the edge here with my makeup sponge, just tapping it off a little bit so that it doesn't leave any run over on the sides there and onto the top, because I want it to look nice and clean. This is so easy. This was easier than using a marker, so I do recommend using this technique if you want to try to do the enamel look. I think this is cute. Alright, so after I do that, I do go ahead and paint the back, and then I allow it to dry. See there? Nice, that looks better. Now I'm going to take my antiquing wax here and a chippy brush. I'm going to tap off a lot of that, and then I'm going to focus in the crevices around this bee dish. Now, like all the indentions and the, you know, the outline, I guess I should say, of this bee. I want to work that in there because I want to leave some shadow and some dimension that you don't otherwise see in the dish as we had it originally. But you can leave it that way. So I'm just wiping it back a little bit, and that's just a dry sock that I'm repurposing that didn't have a match. You know, the dryer likes to eat those things. And then I'm just going to tap some down in there and lightly rub back over until I get the finish that I like. The idea is not to have the entire dish looking antique, but rather to have the indention shown up. This beautiful little, I guess this is a vase. I found it at Dollar Tree, so pretty. I took the little embellishment off. This is a little thrifted cork light, but you can use any type of fairy lights that you have. Doesn't have to be this. I'm going to use a little wood bead. I have a little, I guess it's a candle holder that's going to help me hold things in place while I work. I'm going to sit it down in there and protect my fingers, and we're going to begin to make a top for this so that it doesn't look like a glass vase anymore. So I'm just putting my protected finger in the center and then just kind of working around, adding the glue where I need it. It looks kind of oval right now, But you know, it's fixed. In the end, it's fixed. You can overlap it. You can make this as thick as you want to make it. And I do actually, after I get it wrapped around as flat as I can get it on the flat part, I do go over that little ridged area there and then onto the part that goes down. That would be like the base area. It's just maybe a couple of centimeters, but I do wrap that up as well because this will look more like a topper than just, you know, a little bit of rope wound up on the bottom. You can see how I went over the edges like that. And you can just wipe off some of that glue. It's gonna come out of your jute. Just wipe it off. It's real easy to remove. Just want to make it look nice and neat. Then I'm going to take my bead and put it in the center. This is how it's looking so far. I love that, the amber color of this vase, and it just looks like, it reminds me of like a beehive. So I thought this is definitely what I want to use it for. So I'm also going to do this area and cover that completely up. And this is easy to do. I should have been protecting my fingers so I would be a good example for everybody, but I was running with the, you know how it is when you get that little spark and you get the ideas running and you just go for it. That's kind of what I was doing here with this one. So once you get enough on there, you can trim it off. You don't want to cover the lip because it might not sit flat. Again, with our antiquing wax, I'm going to add a little bit there on the bottom and just kind of take a very stiff, also like a chippy brush, but it's a stencil brush. And I'm going to use a little bit at a time to build up the color that I want. I want the color to match sort of what's going on in the beehive as far as the depth of the tone. I don't want to get it super dark, and if I used a regular paintbrush and just went full force, it would turn this a waxy brown color, and that is not what I'm going for. I just want it to look as though it is aged, and I want it to blend nicely with what is going on in the glass. So we're going to go down to the bottom, or what used to be the top, and work on that too, just going back and forth and stippling, and that glue is really holding well on this glass. And so this is the color I think I like. Very pretty. But you can continue to add as much as you want for this. So now the idea here, I'm going to use just a tiny bit of glue in the opening to hold down my little control so that it stays in place when I put it on the base that I've created. So you can use a little piece of wood, a little round wood. You could sit it back in that little vase or candle holder over there if you'd like. You can use it just like this, and that just gives you an idea how that would look. Or you can use like a candle topper, like an old candle topper or a jar top, like a jar lid. And I really like this aged one. This is one that's been through the dishwasher a few times, and the edges are very aged. But it doesn't have the color that I want. So in order to give it a more rustic or a more aged look, I'm going to take that same antiquing wax and I'm going to go around all of the edge, get in every one of those little cracks there, every one of those little indentions, right down into the lip where it curls over, and then all over the top. You can let your wax sit after you get it on there and let it dry a little bit and then wipe it back. And that will give you a little more of an aged look. And if you like this look, you certainly don't have to wipe it back at all, but you will need to let it dry before you continue with your project. But for purposes of the video, so I can help you to understand, I am going to wipe this back and leave. See how it sinks down into the indentions? I love that. I love that. How adorable is this? Is that not the cutest thing? I believe in you. I really do. And I know that you could do something like this and it'll be so amazing. Here are some of the things that we did in the last bee video, along with some of the things that we did in this bee video, so that you can see they work really well together. Thanks to everybody who has been supporting me so far. I love you guys and I have had so much fun.
We're going to start off with a little pencil. I've got this beehive frame from the Dollar Tree, some fabric that I thrifted, and a piece of foam board. Mine's a trifold, but I'll cut it down, but you can get yours at Dollar Tree. We're going to take the tags off here, of course. You can see that it's not completely painted. That doesn't bother me, but if you need to, you can go ahead and get some yellow spray paint and fix that up, or maybe even acrylic. To make it a little easier while I trace this so I don't move it around, I'm just going to use a little bit of clear tape and just tape it across each one of those little ribs. And that way there's no tape on the outside that interferes with the shape that I'm tracing. Very easy. Once you get that done, you can just pop it off. I did break one of my rings, so be careful when you do that. And then this is a shape you get. You can use your cutting mat and a X-Acto knife if you want to, or one of those little finger knife thingies, but I went ahead and grabbed up my scissors because I was catching heck. And the scissors work, it just takes a little bit longer, and I'm trying to get the big pieces out of the way. You can hack at it and then do a little bit of a nicer cut along the edges. Just kind of remove that bulk. So there's the shape. It is not completely perfect. It's got little jagged cut marks in it. I'm just going to grab my sanding foam block here and just lightly go right over all of these edges. That'll get that extra paper off. The foam that's on the inside will shear off of there as well and just give us a little bit of a smoother surface to work with. You could use an emery board to do this too if you wanted, or even a piece of sanding paper, whatever. So you can see the little pieces that have fallen down on the bottom, and here's our shape, and it fits perfectly. We're going to just set the form aside, the wreath form, and we're going to start working on the paper backing or the foam board backing. We want to make this stiff, so we're going to Mod Podge it down onto the foam board. I'm using quite a bit on a sponge brush so that I get a thick application. When you use fabric, you want to get enough glue so that it kind of saturates through. You wouldn't want to do this if you were using tissue paper or something. You're probably not going to find this fabric at Dollar Tree, as I didn't either, but you can find some that's white with little black bee prints with their farmhouse fabrics. If you can find that, that would be really nice here too. Maybe give you something a little more neutral, but I happen to like that color, that beautiful color in the summer and going into fall. So this is just the way I like it. I'm going to go back over while it's still wet and go over all of the edges, making sure that it's going to dry so it'll be crispy even on the fabric. It'll be able to cut it just like we would cutting paper, ideally. And you can see it kind of gives it a milky looking finish. I'm using matte, but you can use whatever Mod Podge that you like to use on this. I just like the matte finish. While it's still wet, I'm going to trim off the excess to make it a little bit easier for me the next go around. Once it's dry, this is how it's going to look. Nice and crisp again, the colors. And I'm going to go around here and cut these out with my small scissors. Now, I've found that if I just cut toward my centers like this, and then I can kind of then go along the curve without having to worry about not getting good corners. So see, now I can just go over this section, and there's our little bump. And you can do that all the way around if it's easier for you. Once that's done, I'm going to take my E6000, and I do use hot glue too, but you just can't see it here, and these little clamps that came from Dollar Tree to help us hold everything in place. So we're going to take that frame back off of there, and I'm going to go around the edges as close as I can get to the edge with this E6000. I'm just going to make some smears here and there. This comes out like in a little bubble, and the top is clogged up, so I just use a stick and use it this way. And I know you can't see, but I'm going close to the edges because the edges are where the frame is going to touch. Then after I get that done, I'm going to put down the frame back on top of it and hold it in place with the clamps. And you'll see me doing that here. Gonna make sure I got it exactly in the right position. It's shaped a little differently on the top and the bottom, so just making sure that it's right and back in the right spot. These clamps can help hold it in place, and then I'll go around and all the sections where I did not put the E6000, I'm going to go around that with some hot glue. Just on the outside, not on the inside. Once it is all dry, you can see here,
It works perfectly. I'm just going to reuse a tie that I got off of something else, and I'm going to put that in the back. You want one that's wide enough that if you put a bow on here, the bow is going to cause the weight to shift to the other side. So if you're going to use a bow, you might want to consider how you put your hanger on the back of this. Might want to make one that goes side to side, in other words. So we'll give that a chance to dry, and while it is, we're going to work on a bow. You don't have to use a bow at all. If you prefer to not use a bow, you certainly don't have to, but I really wanted to in this project. And we'll be using a variety of ribbons. So this one is a thrifted ribbon that I pulled off something else at Goodwill. Sometimes I find fragments, and that's fine with me. I love that color. And then I have some more. The yellow came from the thrift store also, and then the little sunflower came from the fall clearance or sale last year at Hobby Lobby, or last fall season, I'll put it that way. And getting good deals like that, man, I don't always get those good deals because I don't follow them. I just kind of happen into the store every now and then and can find something I like. So okay, let's get started on this bow. This is going to be a funky bow. 4-inch little loops up here. You're going to fold it in half. You've got it dovetailed on the ends, and you're going to hold it between your thumb and your forefinger. Again, approximately 4 inches. You can measure it against the ribbon you already have, or you can keep your ruler down or your cutting mat so you can get them precise if that's what you want to do. I can usually get them about the same by just kind of fooling with the loops. So I'll put my fingers in here and pull them up, and I can make one longer if I need to. I can pull them down by the tails and make them shorter. We're using 3 different types of ribbon, and we're going to use 2 of each one. The more you use, the bigger your bow is going to be. I don't want this bow to completely overwhelm the small size of this little door hanger we're making. Or you can put it on your wall or wherever you want to put it. It's just bright and sunshiny and summery, and I just love that. I hope y'all like sunflowers as much as I do, because I will be doing sunflowers in the fall also. I sure will, because I love them so much. They're just very rustic to me. The colors and everything, they're so warm. I just love it. Alright, so I'm going to use a zip tie here, but I'm going to slip a little scrap of a pipe cleaner right down in there. And then I'm going to tighten it all the way down. And then you can just cut the edge off, or the extra off, with your little clippers. Or if you've got some kitchen shears, something that can cut through thick items, then you could use that too. So to fluff out this bow, we're going to make sure, if you're going to fluff it upside down, make all your patterns go toward the table, because when you flip it over, that'll be the right side, correct? Yes. The idea is to kind of divide up your colors and your patterns so that it is mixed up and pretty, and there's a little bit of each little pattern represented in your bow when you look at it. This bow, although we made these pieces about 24 inches, we're going to be trimming up a little bit on this bow, and so these pieces will not be the same length as you see them here. But you can leave yours that way if you would like. So it's kind of easy. It's fluffing out the bow part. It's just, you know, putting your hands in there, and they have wire, except for that little sunflower ribbon. They have wire, so they stay up there without too much of a problem. So I'm wrapping it around that, I guess it would be almost the center loop there, or one of the middle loops, and I'm just pulling it to the outside. I want to be able to see the flowers and the bees on the sign. And yeah, some is covered up, but you know, you'll still be able to see that bee toward the top. She's a super cutie. Alright, so I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to just nip a little bit. Make these a little bit shorter in front of the striped ones that are underneath it. Kind of just playing with it here. If you made your loops and your tails about the same size, then you would have a squattier, wider bow. So just keep that in mind if you decide that that's something that you would rather do. I've decided to put a little loop in the middle because it's bothering me that I can still see my little zip tie. So I'm just going to make a little loop and put it in the center. But if you are somebody who knows how to make bows, then you know what to do without running into this issue. I'm not a professional. I like to remind people of that every now and then. I don't know everything, and I don't pretend that I do. You know, I'm self-taught, and just try to bring you the things that work for me, and then you can do things your own way. That's what we do on this channel. We make it our own. See how that yellow one right there is just a little bit too long? It's trying to be floppy. We're going to cut it a little shorter and it'll stand out a little bit. I'm just wrapping them between my two fingers and pulling them down, and a good wired ribbon will hold that curve for you. And that's working pretty good. I think it's cute. I don't think that this piece would have been as cute had we not put that pretty bow on there. But maybe it's just because I'm from the South and we love big bows. Who knows? All right. We're going to use some Mod Podge. This is not a new idea, definitely. People have done this before. A little Waverly. Antiquing wax, a foam brush, a regular brush. Got some little tumbling tower blocks. Mod Podge little scraper squeegee. And the calendar page. And the back of this one happens to be the sunflowers. This is a box top from I don't know, what is that, from Cigars or something? A telescope that I got at the thrift store. Love the wood box, love the depth. We're just going to kind of, I'm just eyeballing it to see about how much I need to remove, and I'm just using my rotary cutter here to trim off those pieces until the size is what we need to stick inside of that lid so we can make it into a sign. To put it down, I am just going to use some Mod Podge and a brush. You don't have to use this. You can use the glue stick method here if you want to. You could use double stick tape if you wanted to use this again. But I'm using that Mod Podge, and I'm using it with a thicker paper. So what you see that I'm going to be using is not the regular calendar page with the numbers on the back. This is actually the back of the cover. So it's a little bit thicker, and I don't have to worry about all the bubbling and lines and wrinkles and such. I'm just going to place it down with my hands first. There's a little bit of room on each side of the picture, but I'm not concerned about that, because when it dries, it's just going to be the wood color and it'll just look like part of the frame. I'm going to go all the way around, making sure that there's no air left in, and I'm happy with it. Then I'm going to take that same matte Mod Podge. I'm going to go over the sides of the wood, the inside where it connects to the, where the picture connects to the sides, and all those little gaps. I want this to be completely the same finish so that it looks like it was intended to be this way. I don't want it to appear as though I put a calendar page in a box top, right? No, that's not what we're going for. So I'm going to take my antiquing wax, and then if you don't have antiquing wax, though, you could certainly use a brown paint and make your own little stain. I'm doing this because I don't want it to be real noticeable. It's going to help support the box top so that it will be a standing sign. Once those are dry, I'm going to use the side that I didn't paint, because it's sometimes hard for wax and glue to stick together. And then I'm going to add a little hot glue and quickly flip it over. I'll put one to the left bottom corner, one to the right bottom corner, and then there will be one that's pretty much in the middle. Not measured, so probably not the middle, but close enough. And the color of it kind of matches the wood, and I think it looks good. I think it works for our purpose. Nice and strong. You can see my Mod Podge is still a little bit wet in the corners there. When it dries, it's going to be clear, so that's not a problem. It's not going to leave a mess. So this is a yard stake that I got very early in the season. These are some beaded wreaths here. I got the black one, and then I have a brown one, but I decided to use the black. I've got some chalkboard paint in black and a sunflower yellow, my white chalk paint, and a variety of ribbons from Dollar Tree. I've already broken the stake off of the back, but there's a little bit that remains. It's not going to be a bother right now. I'm going to take our tags off. Always wipe down your items so that your paint will stick. I'm going to use the white chalk paint to go over most of the parts of this bee, except where it is most definitely going to be black, which will be the head, the antennas, and all of the legs. We'll let those be black. But this way, the chalk paint will help that yellow that we're going to put on the stripes really pop out, and I won't have to use as many layers. So now we're getting into the black chalk paint, and I'm going to go over everything that's black. The little eyes were bugging me. I said, yep, the eyes were bugging me. Wah, wah, wah. Yeah. I didn't like them, so I wanted to paint over them, and that's what I did here. Once that white is dry and I'm not going to be running back into the black, I'm going to take that beautiful sunflower yellow color and I'm going to put it all over both of the wings. Okay, you see how that's bent up a little bit in the back? I'm going to just grab my little pliers here and bend it up just a little bit more so it's almost like a paper clip, and it will go right, it'll thread right through the wiring of this wreath and help hold it in place. And then of course later we'll make sure that it stays down with a little extra help. I'm going to take those same little pliers here, make sure that these are squished together so that my beautiful new bee does not go off anywhere. These are some artificial flowers that I have. They did not come from Dollar Tree, but I'm sure you can find something like wildflowers or something like that that would work. I love these little flowers. I've used them in several projects. I'm going to just kind of fool around with them a little bit, turn everything the way I like them, and then we'll start making a little swag to put on the top of the wreath. I like to twist them around, put their heads, little faces forward. I didn't have any sunflowers where I would have used those here, but I think this is good enough for this project. And we have these little yellow and white flowers that grow all over the place in the wild, and I definitely see bees on them, so it worked perfect. So I'm just fluffing a little bit. It's not a bow, but it still needs a little attention. The zip ties hold it in place nicely because I had some little branches that were way too small because these are just really scraps that we have left. And then I'll use another zip tie. I'm going to use 2 of these to keep it from moving back and forth. And I'm going to attach the swag right down on the wreath. My little zip ties also come from Dollar Tree, so if you're looking for some, these are the ones that I use, and I've never had a problem with them breaking while I'm crafting or anything like that. So now we want to put something right in the top. Let's start on a bow. You just look at the combinations together, and I'm trying to see which ones I think that I will like the best. And I do like these together. So I'm going to pull these out, and I'm going to make just a really simple little, it's like the awareness bow. Just make the little awareness shape and then squish it down into itself. I like to kind of measure to make sure it's the right size. I don't want it to be too big for that space, so that's what I'm doing here. Then I'm going to cut my tails where they're relatively close in length. You can use a little clip to hold that in place. Here's that same bow again. It's just a tad smaller. All of the 3 little bows will be sized just a little bit differently than the one next to it, and then you can stack them up accordingly. And really, you could do any bow you wanted here. You could skip a bow and just put more flowers in there so that it's not, you know, specifically like a swag. You could do anything like that. Okay, so you can see they're all stacked together, and then I'm just going to cut another little piece. This is an option. You can use jute, or you could use a pipe cleaner, whatever you want to attach your little trio of bows together is fine. I just thought I would try a little bit of the same fabric we were already using, and it works great. So now we got that pattern in the middle too. The black and yellow ribbon, this plaid one here, don't think it has any wire in it, but the honeycomb there and this bee, they do have wire in them. So that's gonna help us keep this looking a little bit better. Make your bows smaller, make your bows bigger, leave the bow off, however you want to do it. I'm just going to take a little piece of floral wire and go right underneath that knot on the back of the bow. I'm going to kind of twist it around the middle top here, but just between the zip ties, and that will hold it in place. And you can also use that little wire to make a hanger to twist on the back if you want to do it that way too. Always fluff out those bows. And I had different ideas as to which one I wanted to go where, and it didn't cooperate with me, so in the end it'll look a little different than it does now, but it's the same bow. I had one little flower that fell off. I'm just going to glue it right in the middle. Now you can't even see that I put that other fabric in the middle of that bow. Now I'm taking the opportunity to look and see about these tails. It's almost like when you cut a hairstyle and you're looking now at the bangs. You got to kind of see what is framing what. And that's kind of what I do. I'm picking up those back pieces and pulling them out, fluffing them out, run your finger through there, fluff it up, curl the ends. Now to get this bead to stay in position, I'm using some Gorilla Glue. And I'm just going to pile it underneath the entrance where we attached it. And I'm going to put it some over the wood beads and across the body of the bead. And I'm sure my bead does not have the proper amount anatomically of stripes and all that, but that's not the goal. You know, that's not the goal. It's a representation. So the good thing about these wood beads is if you want to tack down your tails where they don't move when you hang them, you can just tack it down and they'll stay there. They'll stay in place. No slipping off. They'll be there till you try to take them off. And then again, with fluffing these out, you can kind of feed them up through the flower swag if you wanted to. That would be a good option for you. So I'm going to take this black, the same black chalkboard paint we already used, take most of it off the brush, and very, very gently, I'm just dragging this across the wings to give the detail back to the wings. Very gently dragging, very carefully. I don't want streaks. I only really want the paint to stay on the tops of the wings, of the veining, I guess, in the wings. You see what a pretty look that is? For me, that made all the difference in the world. But you know what? Have you ever seen a bee without pollen on its little legs and butt? Yep, the bees around here always have pollen on them. So I'm just going to grab my little stencil brush, going to grab some more of that sunflower yellow, and I'm going to dust his legs, his little feet, his head, and over the black section on his body with a little bit of this to make it look like there's a little bit of pollen. They're going to be taking this pollen back to the hive to nourish their babies. It's very subtle, but I think it does make a difference. There's our wooden sign we made with a lid and a Dollar Tree calendar page. We used Dollar Tree and thrifted items also for this little beaded wreath. And the same thing here. I had a lot of fun doing these bees, and I'm glad that bees and sunflowers are something that my subscribers and viewers like. I appreciate everybody's patience as we work through the slower time of crafting season. Maybe my favorite one so far. Grab up some Dollar Tree ribbon, some Dollar Tree burlap. I'm using bees for this, and 2 Dollar Tree signs. These happen to be ones that were around at Christmas time, but let's use them now. I'm going to take off the tags and the hangers for both of them. If you want to peel the fronts off and use those, you can, but the back is already so pretty and clean. Let's just take these tags off and use the back. Save ourselves some time. All right, I'm going to start with the honeycomb. Place that down here. And the same way as we had done before, I'm just going to take a little snip here so I can get into it and then pull a long string out. That's going to give us our line. You can see here, it's like a run and some pantyhose. Pantyhose run. And we're going to cut along that line to get a nice straight line. Then we're going to flip the fabric and the sign over. Kind of get it somewhat centered so we have enough to grab off both sides. I'm going to add some hot glue here on the end and fold that up. And then we'll go all the way around just like that. I'll show you how to deal with the corners. All right. All right, so we're just going to continue around and press this all down into the glue. It will hold nicely because that glue just gets right into the fibers of that burlap and just locks it into place. I love it. You can see how we do the top when you fold. Around the corners, you're just going to add a little bit of glue, fold it in on itself. Okay, and then you'll go right along that fold with some hot glue and press it into there. Easy to do. Don't worry about the way the back looks on these signs. You can always cover this with craft paper if you would like. Or maybe some black felt or something like that if you want to do it that way. If you're not hanging this on the door, nobody's going to see the back, so you can save your product. All right, we're going to do the same thing with the bee tag until we have two beautiful tags just like this. We will start working with the honeycomb one. Now on this one, we are going to do a stencil. These stencils came from Temu. I ordered these beautiful little things. I love them. I'm not sponsored by Temu. I don't have codes or anything for you here, but lots and lots of crafters are doing hauls for Temu and are working with Temu, so feel free to go check those out if you want to find one. And then these are really great though. I really like these stencils. I love these stencils. This worked out very nicely for me. Okay, so I'm going to take my stencil brush. I'm going to pat it down in there and just offload most of it. Offload means I'm just going to pounce it around until I don't have a wet brush. It's almost dry, but it still has paint. I'm going to go up to the stencil here and start going in circles. I'll just go a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, all over the top of that stencil so that the paint goes straight down in there. My understanding is that if you pounce it upside down, you may get fuzzy edges, and I have actually done projects before where I have done the little pouncing technique, and I do end up with those little mess there. So check this out though. That is so crisp. That turned out great, and I just used a chalkboard paint from Dollar Tree. So you see the little gaps here? We're going to use what's called a bridge brush to go in between each of those little gaps. So instead of looking like a stamp or a stencil, it will look hand painted and complete. I'm just going to go right over all the little gaps. You can see what I'm doing here. This is easy enough to do. Steady yourself, hold on to your wrist, whatever you need to do. Get your magnifiers on, and look what a difference that makes. I'm loving the bee project, y'all. This is a little scrap. It almost looks like a wagon wheel. I'm not really sure, but I keep this kind of stuff when I find it. I'm just going to use this as a little ring for the top. So I'm going to go over it with that same paint. And since I had this brush, I just used that. Let it dry. And then once it's dry, you can use it. This is a little awl that came with a basket making kit. I'm going to use this to go right through that hole. I can see it from the back, so I'll start on the back side and just kind of wiggle it back and forth until you can see the opening. That way you'll be able to get your rope in there the way you need it. So we're going to cut 3 pieces of this jute cord, and I think I probably have about 14 inches for each of these pieces, and we're going to make a braid instead of just using a regular string through here. I just thought I would try something new. You certainly don't have to do it this way, but it's just something different. I'm going to use some of my painter's tape to tape it to my table right where the knot is, where I connected them together, and then I put one of my little electricity things on top. And then I think most of y'all know how to braid. You just take the inside, cross it over, and I'm going to go all the way down like this, back and forth, until I get the length that I like. Then I am going to add hot glue all the way around it and then cut it off. Now it's got a good finish like a shoelace. I'll take that little round piece. I guess we're kind of using it like a grommet, and I will settle that right down over the top where the hole is in the bee tag. Then I'm going to just push this through. I'm going to use my awl here to just help pull it through. And then I will thread that also through the one that's got the honeycomb in it. I'm going to take the 2 ends of those pieces of jute or the braided rope, and I am going to tie that in a knot so that they are attached. I'm going to feed that all the way through so it's smooth on the top and the knot is in the back. Then I'm going to add hot glue to hold these two tags together. You can use clamps to hold it in place too if you would like to do that, if you need the help. You're going to add that hot glue because sometimes these things will bow. Hold down on this or put something heavy on it until the glue is dry. While that is setting up, we're going to go over here to our ribbons, and we're going to use 4-inch pieces of ribbons. I'm using Dollar Tree ribbons and some stuff I already had. So I've got 2 of the bees, I've got 4 of the honeycomb. This is also some Temu ribbon. I've got 2 pieces of that, and then 2 pieces of this white linen. It's more of a cream color though. And I'm just going to make an X. I'm going to go over and over with whichever colors, whichever way you want to do it. If you don't want to put it in a pattern, you don't have to. You can just throw them all down there and just pick it up and put them any which way you want to. Just going to continue to cross over. Just like that. Alright, so then we can flip this over. Once we got the stack all together, I like to finish with the little bees on top. We're going to flip it over, and I'm going to tie it. Now the ribbons in the back are wider. They're going to try to fold up or curl up, and that's fine. Just take your time here, and you can just push those back down. I'm going to slowly do it where it's not too bunched up and messy. Try to keep it in shape. And then I'm going to tie a double knot. You can flip it over and tie it in the front if you want. Flip it out a little bit, pull those pieces out, almost like when you're playing cards and you've got your cards in your hand and you kind of push them to the side so you can see all of your cards. You kind of can do this bow that way, so you can see all the different ribbons. You can trim off what you're not going to use. Very easy. And then you could leave it like that, or if you want to go around the middle of it, I just thought I'd go around the middle of it with a little bit of this same cream color linen ribbon, just for the heck of it. But you certainly don't have to. The jute looks fine. Once that is all together, we're going to glue it down, and I want this right underneath where we put that little, I guess you could call it a wagon wheel, but it's our grommet for this, I guess. And then if you want to leave your ribbon straight, you can. You can dovetail these little ribbons. It takes a little more focus, but you can. Or you can just do like I'm doing and go in there and cut you some slants just to look like it has a nice clean finish. Some people like to take a little heat and kind of burn those edges, but for now they're not gonna come apart, so we're gonna leave it just like this. And remember, cover your backs if you need to make it nice and neat. If you're going to give it as a gift, if you're planning on selling it, or if you're going to use it on a glass door. I bought a bunch of this fabric, y'all. A bunch of it, because I will be using it. A lot of people are liking the bee projects and the sunflower projects, so I hope that you are enjoying them as well. I got this at the thrift store. Beautiful little organizer. I don't know if it was for a desk or for a kid's room. Very cute. It does have some damage on the back of the drawer, but that's okay. Totally okay with me for what I'm going to use it for anyway. I did paint over it very long time ago with that white, thinking maybe I could cover it up, but that was, you know, several years ago, and I didn't understand different types of decals and all that. Well, apparently these are permanent. I can't get it out, so I'm just going to sand it off to make it smooth, just to prepare it for the paint. I'm also going to remove this little drawer pull. The little knob here is very cute, but for the look that we are going to give it, I want to get something a little bit different. And I do happen to have a stash of drawer pulls in my thrifted supply. So anytime you sand, be sure you wipe your surfaces down. Always, always, when you get them from the thrift store. Vacuum, clean with some disinfectant. You can use alcohol wipes. Just clean everything off. You want to get all the extra gunk off. If it's a shiny surface, you can go over it with a sanding block. That'll help your paint adhere a little bit better. And then be sure that you go down each one of those little cubbies and get those cleaned out too, in the corners too. Y'all did not even realize this is a Pottery Barn piece. Gorgeous. I am going to take off the sticker. I just used a little bit of cleaning spray. It's just the stuff that I had on hand in the basement. I use on everything. And I'm going to wipe that away, dry it really well. We don't want any oils to be on there. We want our sheepskin chalk paint to smoothly apply and not peel away. So after it's dried from the thorough cleaning that we're going to do, I'm going to paint this with this sheepskin paint. I gave this one kind of a thick coat here, all over the front, all over the back. I did not go inside the drawer, but just a few inches where you might see when you pull it out. And I did do the drawer too. Now you can use ribbon. If you can't find the fabric, here's some ribbons that you can use to embellish and decorate whatever thrifted little organizer you have. But look at these fabrics I found recently at Dollar Tree. Oh my goodness, y'all know how I am for bees and sunflowers. I was over the moon with this. So look at these pretty prints. And then this black and white one has been around a while. It was kind of with their farmhouse stuff, but it's an option, definitely. You use any fabric that you like. This is for inspiration, y'all. So here it is painted, and I showed you the drawer all painted up. Nice and clean and painted. Now we're going to use some Mod Podge. I'm going to use matte because I like a matte finish. I'm going to use a big brush just because it gets on there thicker and I want it to soak through the fabric. You see that this one piece of fabric fits on the back and I still have extra, and I love that. I'm going to go all the way up to the top edge, which I have decided to make you guess about because I'm not showing you there, but you get the idea. Go all the way up to the top. And my brush was flaking a little. Just pick that out and go back over it, You know how it is. It's a thrifted brush. What do I expect? But it works really well. Just have to pick the little hairs out from time to time. All right, I'm going to lay this down and pull it down a little bit to make sure that I've spared as much extra fabric pieces as I can. If I want to use it on something else, I want to be sure I don't have little thin ribbons. I want to actually have little blocks I can use, right? So then I'm going to just work in sections. And you can see here the size of this brush. I'm kind of thickly putting this on. Y'all look at my brush sinking down into the Mod Podge. You should have seen the mess that I edited out here. Oh, I had it everywhere. Look at that. Look at that. Had it on my fingers and everywhere. Ew. Y'all know how it is. Crafting life, right? So then I'm just going to lay this down. I'm going to use my hands and, sort of toward the middle and outward. Always working outward to make sure there's no bubbles or wrinkles. I'm going to push them out and away. And then I'm going to get my little squeegee tool here. And if you don't have one of these, no problem. Grab an old credit card. You can use your driver's license, whatever you have there to just kind of make that even. You can even use a ruler. And then I am going to grab that Mod Podge when it's nice and smooth and put a nice substantial coat on the whole thing. Again, not showing you the top, so just use your imagination there. And when you go to the edges, when you're using fabric like this, be sure you don't just stop at the edge. Kind of overlap a little bit like you saw me doing. Then I'm going to go back in and cut off some of the excess just to get it out of the way, make it a little easier to work with. Once it is completely dry, you can leave it overnight if you want, however you want to do it. You're going to go in with an X-Acto knife or your scissors, some detailing scissors, and you are going to just cut around because you put Mod Podge on that fabric. It now makes it very sturdy and tough, and it's very easy to cut through like you would be cutting through paper. And don't worry, if you have a couple of little extra hairs here and there, just sand them or clip them off. I like to go around the edges again just to be sure with some Mod Podge. I want to be sure everything is sealed in and that this project is going to last me a very long time. This is not the type of Mod Podge that you would wash or clean with water or a cleaning spray of any sort. You would just dust this, okay? Putting water on it's just going to reactivate it and it's going to get soft and make a mess. So I want to make a little peekaboo drawer here, and I thought putting this fabric on the inside is almost like having the bees hiding inside of the honeycomb or the hive. So I was very proud of myself for this idea, but you can do it any way that you like. Now rather than trying to figure out dimensions, because I don't like the numbers, I am going to just press this in. Is it completely even? It is not, but I'm just going to do the best I can here and just kind of mark it with a pencil. Obviously you want to do this upside down. it didn't occur to me when I did it at the time, but you can erase your line or cut right inside of the line if you see your pencil line in there and it bothers you. You can just cut it right off. You can just erase it. So I'm just carefully going along that line to get my fabric ready for the drawer. So this is almost like we're making this like a shelf liner or something, like a drawer liner, but we're doing it with fabric. Yay, it fits. So I'm going to add some Mod Podge, and I am going to, because I'm using fabric now, when you're using paper, you do not want to use as much Mod Podge because it will wrinkle and crease, and if it's tissue paper, it will rip and tear. But with fabric, it's very sturdy. You want to use a lot because it's thicker, okay? For the same reason you wouldn't wear a paper shirt and expect for it to last. You use fabric, right, because it lasts. So we're going to add this in here on top of that Mod Podge coat. And if you get enough in there, you can kind of slide it around a little bit to make sure that it's, you know, in your corners as it should be. You can also use your squeegee here. Get the lines out, you know, where there are folds in the fabric, but you don't have to iron your fabric first when you're using Mod Podge because they will come out when you press it down. So don't waste your time doing that. You know, you could be crafting something else, girl, or guy, whoever. So you're going to go back over it with some Mod Podge. It'll look kind of milky until it's dry, and then when it's dry, look how crisp and beautiful that is. Okay, so now we're going to put a little more of the honeycomb right on top of that drawer, and I'm going to go right over the hole where the knob is because, or where the knob will be, because I'll be able to see that hole through that fabric, and then we'll be able to put the knob back in place. I won't have to do any guesswork. So again, I'm just working in sections, and I'm going to, I had already cut this piece down. I had measured that little raised area because this drawer does have a lip on it. I'm just going to press it down a little bit. Then I'm going to go on to my next little section. Put that on, press that down. And then you'll just continue that process and till you get to the end. And then you want to be sure that you lay it down nice and smooth like we have done before. Nice and smooth. And then also, after you straighten that out and you use your little hand and your squeegee and you get all nice and flat and crisp, then you can go back around and make sure that it is even. If you have a flat drawer that doesn't have any beveling, you don't have to worry about this at all. But when I was gluing it down, I pulled it a little too far, so I just clipped it off. It's just not even a big deal. As long as both ends look the same, I'm happy with that. Now we're going back over it with some Mod Podge, same as we did the drawer insert. I'm just going to go all the way over it, and be sure that you get your edges too, so that the edges will stay down and not pull away. Once it's dry, look how crisp and beautiful that color is. You can see the shadow where the hole is. That is hard now. That fabric is hard. I'm going to take an awl, which is this little punch tool that I have. You can use an ice pick or something like that, or a little screwdriver. Poke it right back through there. It makes the perfect hole. No mess, no cut marks. Perfect. So here's a pack that I thrifted, and it has white knobs. Now I do go over this with some that matte Mod Podge to matte it down because it's very glossy right now. But the screw that was in that original drawer fits perfectly in here, which makes me very happy because I know it's the right length. So I'm just going to screw that onto there and lock it in. Yes. You don't want to go too tight because you don't want to strip out the holes, but I also do not want this to jiggle, so I'm just giving a little turn there, and it's nice and tight. So you can choose any yellow that you like. For this fabric, I have chosen, I believe this said, was it honeycomb or harvest? I don't know. But anyway, that yellow, it matches the fabric that I used on the back and on the front. It is one of the shades that are one of the multiple shades of the honeycomb. There's several different ones. You can use whatever yellow that you like. This is more of a goldish yellow, more of a, like a honey yellow, I guess you could say. So all of these little dividers and edges are going to get 2 coats of this beautiful golden yellow. And I'm using a sponge brush so that if you used a brush that has hair on it, it would kind of splay out to the sides and you wouldn't get that crisp line. Then I'm going to take a more detailed brush and go around the lip, I guess you would call it, of this beveled edge on the drawer. I just pulled it out, and now I'm going to go over where the fabric meets that lip. and go all over that, and then I will put it right on the face of the drawer top. So I'll show you that also. Just be really careful, support your hand. You know, I don't want to make a big mess on the sides, but surely if you wanted to paint the drawer solid yellow, you could do that too. But I just want to put it on the lip. Again, those little flashy things that you don't necessarily notice. All right, so I'm going to take a piece of that Dollar Tree fabric and this little sign, all you need is love. I'm going to cut out one of these little pictures because this one comes with a bunch of little vignettes. Makes it perfect for crafting, y'all. I should have got more pieces, but I didn't realize when I bought it because I didn't open it. I'm going to take a very small screwdriver and remove the screws that's holding this little black edge down. And take those all out. It'll lift completely up. There's no glue. I'm going to use that backing or the little insert they had to draw on a piece of cardstock. Or you can use a piece of poster board, whatever you have. Something thicker than a regular piece of paper though, because we need a backing for that beautiful little vignette. Before I glue it down, I'm going to fray the edges just to give it a, you know, I like my rustic, just to give it a little more of a rustic look. Plus it's going to blend a little bit better with the paper. In case some of the picture shows in the frame, and some of mine will show, you know, in the frame, and that's okay because it's going to blend in nicely and you really won't notice that it isn't part of the original design. So I'm going to just kind of go over this. I'm not using a heavy coat on the paper. Again, paper, you get it too wet, it's going to fold and wrinkle and curl on you. I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to try to center this down in the middle of this paper as best I can. I'm not going to sweat it. I'm going to use my fingers and then a little squeegee to put it in place. Then I'll go back over the entire thing, including the paper and the fabric, with some Mod Podge. I'm not going to use too much. We're going to make these two pieces into one piece now. They are going to be attached together with this Mod Podge and they become one piece, which is going to be the decor piece that we put in the center of this frame. We're not going to use it as a traditional picture frame. Nope, we're not. We're going to use this beautiful picture here and we're going to use it for decoration. I love doing that with Dollar Tree stuff, and because you can experiment with Dollar Tree items without breaking the bank, and I love that. So once I get it completely coated, I am going to set it to the side and let it dry. You may want to put something like a tack or piece of tape just on the edges so that it doesn't curl up, but if you use a good quality cardstock, it's not going to curl very much. Okay, now I had some burlap from Dollar Tree, decided not to use that. I am going to use the burlap that I got from burlapfabric.com. This is not a sponsored video, but they have sent me goodies and I have enjoyed everything I've gotten from them, and you'll see me using them throughout my projects here and there. Very good quality, they have good sales, you know. Okay, so I'm going to use just a little bit of hot glue to attach the burlap down. We don't need to Mod Podge this. The dry time would be crazy on a piece of burlap like this, so we're not going to do that. And this is like, I believe this is a 5-inch ribbon, I think is what it's called, but it's, you know, a roll of burlap. Love to use this in my wreaths. I have got it glued down, I'm trimming it off, and I also put a piece of paper on the other side because we're working on the back side of this frame. The front side of the frame I've just covered with a little bit of craft paper. Nice and neat. It would make it perfect for selling or for a gift. Now just with some detail scissors, go back in and make sure that you get it just flush with the edges to give it a nice finished look. Okay? And it is centered because it's not quite big enough to go across the top and bottom. So I have this beautiful thrifted piece of trim, and I am going to put this right on the top, and it will cover the seam and also the frame, and then I will do the same thing on the bottom. This is it's pretty thick. I mean, as far as trim goes, you know, sometimes on trim you got to be super careful because it's thin, it has a lot of openings, and then you end up possibly burning your fingers. So just to be on the safe side, go ahead and grab those little pink finger protectors that we get from Dollar Tree. I do have some linked in my Amazon store that are blue, that are a little bit bigger. If you are looking for some and can't find them, totally up to you. I am an Amazon affiliate. You should know that ahead of time. Lots of goodies over there in my store. Okay, so you see here what I'm doing. I'm just pressing it down into the glue. Bare fingers. It's so thick that I didn't even, no glue came out. And then I'm using a thin bead of glue because I don't want the mess of glue squishing out. Nobody wants that, right? Nope. Again, Use whatever fabrics you like or you have. You don't have to use this particular one. This is just something that I love, so I'm showing you what brings me joy, but I encourage you always to make it your own. Now I'm gonna go right across the top, sides, bottom, with a thin stream of glue and just set that back in there, and we know it's gonna fit because it's the original, we used the original size that came out of the frame. So look at that, so cute. If you wanted to use some of that matte Mod Podge on this black piece, you could do that as well, and that would give it a little more of a matte finish, but I didn't bother with it in this one. Some hot glue on the back, and it will screw in, but I'm going to use some hot glue to hold it in place until I get those screws back in place. You can certainly glue this down and just ditch those screws if you don't want to use them, but I like them. I think it gives it a little more of an expensive look and makes it a little more finished. Not like something's missing. So I'm just going to screw that in there. We're going to use some wood pieces. Now this one I got thrifted, and then the little stump came from Dollar Tree. I've got some clear wax from Waverly and some home decor chalk paint in sheepskin. I'm going to take my foam brush first and go right around that little nude section of wood. Why am I doing this? Well, because if you put fabric on a piece of material that is dark colored, you're going to see dark through it. You'll see the dark right through it, and I don't want to see anything dark. This light color is going to make it pop when you put the fabric on top of it. So that's why I do it this way. But if you don't mind it the other way, you don't even have to do this step. Sponge brush just makes this easy to go around my curves and just get it right where I want it. It's not perfect, but I'm not striving for perfection. We don't do that on this channel, do we? We do not. So this cute little stump is going to get some wax because it looks a little bit dry and ashy, as the kids would say. So I'm going to go over that with a little bit of this wax. We can put some lotion on the skin. In the cracks, this is just really going to help preserve it, make it look nice. Kind of bring it back to life, if you will. Just kind of flicking it on there with a little, it's not a stencil brush, but it's a firm little brush there. I'm going to set it aside and let that soak in. Look at the menagerie of goodies right here. You can pick any one of these that will fit on your little mini tray. I'm going to use this one on the side that says honey. And if you are a farmhouse lover, this might be the one for you because it is gray, black, and white. Just a little bit of yellow on it. So it's a square. I'm going to cut that square. I'm going to fold it over 2 times and then try to get those edges nice and neat. It will help you cut your circle if you make terrible circles. It doesn't have to be perfect, as I've said, but you want to make your circle circular, right? Not oblong, because then you've wasted your piece and you got to do something else. Once you get it cut, you can assemble your top and bottom together. Of course, you want dry paint on there, of course. Center that, hold it in place. You can also use some wood glue or E6000 if you would prefer. Then once that has set up, we are ready to get the edges of the wood piece. We're going to preserve that too because those will flake off. Could have done this in the first step, I guess, when I was doing the other one, but that's okay. You live, you learn. And again, we don't sweat that kind of stuff around here, do we? No, we strive for joy every day and every visit you have on my channel. I want to bring you a smile, I want to give you some good memories, and I want to teach you some things and show you how to be confident in your crafting. Okay, so now I'm going to put, again, you can put a thicker layer because we're using fabric. I'm going to put that layer down on that piece of wood, flick off the brush hair, and then I'm just going to lay it right on top. Hallelujah that it fits because I didn't measure anything. I just eyeballed it. Then I'm just going to kind of rub it from the inside out, and so you can tug it a little bit and it'll still move. And then press it back down. And that's just what I did there. And then I will go over it with some more Mod Podge. I'll set that aside and let it dry. You can see that it's nice. It's milky looking, so you know you've got a good coverage, right? You got a good coverage there. And then once it dries, it is going to look like this. Nice and crisp. How cute is that? Now the stumps are not completely level, so you don't want to use this for a candle that you light. So I thrifted these, but they came from Michael's, probably cost $1, if that much. I'm going to use something on the inside to keep our Mod Podge from soaking to the back and closing that bag off. So I'm just using a piece of foam board here. And you can wrap yours with some plastic if you're concerned, or a sandwich bag, so that it doesn't stick. And then choose another print that you like. And I love this one. Welcome to our hive. It's got the little bee on it and the honey and the heart. Super cute. And I also think this would be really cute, like for a gift giving idea, if you were going to give somebody a little something. Or you could even put a gift card in here if you wanted to, just to brighten somebody's day. I'm going to peel this off just like we did on the other one. Just kind of pull those threads. Get your fingernail, pull the little threads, or tweezers if you need them, and maybe even a pin, and just pull some of those loose all the way around the edges, so I've got just a little bit of a fray. I feel like it helps me blend out my edges a little bit better, and that works best for my type of crafting. You could also, if you didn't want to do this part, you could trim it out with either be very careful when you cut and make it nice and square, or you could trim it out with some ribbon or some jute, something like that. Okay, so remember what I said about burlap. This stuff is thick, and it's going to take quite a bit of Mod Podge to get anything to stick to it, right? So I'm going to put a good coat. I mean, it's going to look like mayonnaise on a piece of toast. It's got to be thick. I'm going to lay my little beautiful vignette picture on here, push it down. You will see even then it's not trying to stick. You got to go back over the top of it with a good thick coat of that Mod Podge, and I mean a good coat. This little bag is going to be stiff on the front when we're done with it, but it makes it so nice because it won't bend down or buckle when you put things in it. And you know, guys, in the end screen, I'm going to show you everything completed. So don't be upset or worried that you didn't see something or that I missed something to show you. You're going to see it very, very soon. But you're just going to go all over this. Pull up on that after you get done. Kind of lift up on it so it's not touching the divider that you have on the inside. Unless it's a piece of saran wrap or plastic bag, then that won't matter because it should peel away from that fairly well, but I can't guarantee it. Can't guarantee it, so I did it this way. Very nice. It is stuck now. Here's that beautiful bag, y'all, ready to decorate or give as a gift. I love it. I just have a paint bottle in there right now just to show you. This is how you can use Dollar Tree fabric. If you've passed up on it before, go back and give it a second look. A little bit of Mod Podge, a little hot glue, and you can make some beautiful decor pieces from 1, 2, or 3 pieces of fabric. And they're coordinating so they look great all at one time in your decor. I just really love using the Dollar Tree fabrics. I have used the burlap, I have used the ribbons, I have used the cotton fabrics like you see me use here, and I have to say by far the cotton fabric is the best for me because for crafting I don't need to go buy several yards of anything. I just need little pieces, and $1.25 for these beautiful pieces, very well made pieces. Yes, very worth my money, definitely. That's perfect. You can save a ton of money like this. I hope that y'all enjoyed this and that you got a lot of inspiration from this too. I always encourage you to do it your own though. Look at that beautiful organizer now. Look at all the ways you can use this, or you can put your makeup in there, whatever you like.